is a question mark for today because of a bruised hip. Although Marcus says he will give it a try, but the Raider defense will be ready. With 17 sacks, they lead the league in that department. And they'll be tested by that huge Washington offensive line that has provided Joe Theismann with excellent protection. Theismann threw for 3 touchdowns last week. The combination of Theismann, along with Super Bowl MVP John Riggins, along with the Smurfs and the Hogs, looking to deal the Raiders their first loss of the 1983 season. From RFK Stadium, it's the Los Angeles Raiders and the Washington Redskins. And today's game is second half against Denver last week, but Marcus says he's all right, and we'll give it a shot today.
Marcus may be all right. He hasn't been hit yet, but even though he won't make it, the Raiders do have depth. Greg Pruitt, who has been a great back, would be his replacement with Frankie Hawkins, and we know Kenny King has been doing a fine job for several years.
And this is Chris Barr getting set to kick off to the Washington Redskins. Raiders have won 13 of the last 15. Redskins 18 of their last 20. Redskins come in at 3-1. After losing to Dallas in the come-from-behind Cowboy effort, won their last 3. And the Raiders with a record of 4-0. And this is all-pro Mike Nelms. Good coverage by the Raiders. Stacking up Nelms inside the 20. Backup linebacker Darrell Byrd leading the assault. So here are the Washington Redskins to the offense following the 16-yard return by Nelms. And, of course, they go with the single-back offense. John Riggins, most valuable player last year's Super Bowl.
That was a lot of talent in the backfield, but very few people.
Yeah.
And this is the reason.
The offensive line, the key matchup, Joe Jacoby going against number 77, Lyle Alzado. And it goes right to Riggins. And a first down, picked up by Riggins. Bob Nelson making the stop. So John Riggins testing that Raider defense, and these are basically the people you're going to see shuffled around by the Raiders.
Well, these 6 people interchange so frequently, Marv, it would be unfair and inaccurate to state it any other way than 6 across.
And the outstanding core of linebackers. Riggins picked up 12, first down at the 31, and again it's Riggins. And he is gang tackled after the short pickup. Matt Millen, number 55, inside linebacker on the left, leading the charge. And in the secondary, John, you talked earlier about the fact that you feel the Redskins should go at the Raider strength in the person of number 37.
Well, the left cornerback is Ted Watts, obviously. He's number 20. They had Rod Martin up, who's a great linebacker, but I don't think he can play 2 positions at once yet. He maybe can, but Watts will be tested, I think, for the first time today, as will Lester Hayes.
It is Watts and Hayes at the corners. Mike Davis and Van McElroy are the deep men. And again, Riggins looking to pick his way out across the 35, and Rod Martin right there.
This is what the Raiders would love to do. Get them a 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, and they are, listen, the Raiders are such good pass rushers, and I think you're going to have an opportunity to see it for the first time, that they really defy the short passing game, even though it only takes a couple seconds to get off. Those fellas get back in that backfield as fast as anybody I've seen in several years.
And we saw Riggins head to the sideline. Nick Giaquinto and Joe Washington in on this passing down for Joe Theismann. And Theismann slipped. Looked to be a mix-up. Howie Long on the cover-up.
Well, that's embarrassing. I know what Joe did is probably catch his foot on the center. Now, yep, there it is. You see the center caught. That's about the only way a quarterback ever falls down coming back out of there, but that happens a lot more often than you'd like to see. Jeff Bostic got his foot right in the way. Embarrassing a bit.
And here's Jeff Hayes back at his 15-yard line. Greg Pruitt back for the punt. Pruitt averaging 9.5 yards per punt return. High snap. And Pruitt at the 32. Penalty markers down.
Darrell Byrd It's one thing to hit somebody and not get him below the waist as the rules prescribe, and it's very difficult sometimes to get someone off his feet, but you can't hit him in the back. And instead of having excellent field position, now they're going to have very mediocre field position as Pat Haggerty and his boys sit there and discuss the penalty.
Otis Wonsley on the coverage off the 39-yard punt and the short return. And here's Pat Haggerty.
Illegal hands, pushing the back above the waist.
So the Raiders being set back. And here's how the Raiders look offensively. Marcus Allen, who will give it a shot despite the bruised hip, along with Kenny King.
Watch him very closely early, because I've seen a lot of fellas play with bruises, but if that thing is still pretty sore, it's awful tough for a running back. I think an offensive lineman might make a go of it, a defensive player, but a running back, I just don't see it.
Raiders first down at their 23-yard line. Cliff Branch, who caught 2 touchdown passes last week. Top of your screen, Malcolm Barnwell on the other side.
Marcus is not in there.
And a flag down as Plunkett goes deep for Branch. Vernon Dean on the coverage, but a penalty marker down as Branch beat the secondary downfield.
Did he beat the secondary? That ball looked like it was overthrown by about 3 yards. He ran right under it. And I think the Raiders are guilty of some infraction.
Head coach Tom Flores, who has had the Raider penalty number down this season. They have not picked up the penalties the way they have in the past.
Illegal motion, offense, number 37, first down.
Well, the motion penalty.
It's important to note, too, that Marcus Allen is not in the lineup. They've got Frank Hawkins, who is an outstanding player and has become better in his 3rd year out of Nevada, Reno, who's starting and has played a lot this year.
And the penalty called on Hawkins. So Hawkins and King in the backfield, first down and 15. Overthrowing Branch. Branch covered by the right quarterback, Vernon Dean. Dean came up with an interception last week against Seattle, leading to a Washington TD. John, he's had a rough time, not having the season he had last year, coming off a tremendous rookie year.
He's an overplayer, and what an overplayer is a man. They saw him after one time around. They know Vernon Dean likes to play to the outside. You cannot throw a ball to the outside on Vernon Dean very easily. You notice Branch right then tried to beat him on a post, then beat him on a turn in. Both times he was open, Jim overthrew that one.
Second down, 15. That is picked off. Jordan, the strong safety, with his first intercept of the season.
Well, Jimmy's trying to look to the other side, but never really does. He gives the play away a bit. He's trying to get the ball to Malcolm Barnwell, and Curtis Jordan is standing right in between him and the receiver. This was a simple catch the ball, and we got an interception.
7th year out of Texas Tech, spent 5 years with Tampa Bay, a starter with the Bucs, starting at strong safety for the Skins, and he has presented Washington with a first down at the 11-yard line off the interception.
He got a gimme.
Long count. Here's Riggins. Van McElroy finally hauling Riggins down.
Listen, McElroy made a fine play, but Ted Hendricks made the kind of play he's been making for years. It just shows how strong Riggins is. Hendricks was sitting in a position to make that arm grab of his, where he generally takes the back, throws him around a while, and pitches him back to the quarterback. This time he gets one hand, Riggins gets loose and carries McElroy for 4 yards.
So second down and 6. Remember, the Redskins have been a quick starter. They've been a very good first quarter club. But the Raiders have faced this kind of adversity many times this year. But this is Riggins hammering down near the goal line again. McElroy, this time with help from Millen on the tackle.
Marv, you talked about adversity, and this is their backs are, and against the wall. They are being tested really for the first time, and that this is a 3rd down and 1. This play will determine whether or not they keep their streak alive. They have not allowed a touchdown while the game was in balance in the previous 4 games they've played. Of course, they haven't played against Riggins either.
Redskins leading the NFL. And well, here's Riggins. And he's in.
Good enough defense to stop the ball carrier, but not to stop John Riggins. They get him trapped a full yard. Ted Watts makes perfect contact, 1.5 yards from the goal line, 0.5 yard from the first down line. Instead, Riggins picks up that extra yard with a final surge. Put 6 points on the board for the Redskins. The first time anybody's made a rushing touchdown against the Raiders all year.
And Mark Mosley adds the extra point. So it took 1 minute and 27. 4 plays, 11 yards. Following the interception by Curtis Jordan. And the Redskins lead it 7-0.
Go Jim McMahon at quarterback. Not Vince Evans. 52 yards to Matt Suey. The next play, Suey took it in just like that. 7-0 Bears. All right, now back to Marvin John.
Lennon back at RFK Stadium in Washington. John Riggins has given the Redskins a 7-0 lead. Riggins off to a fast start. In fact, first play from scrimmage, he reeled off 12 yards. The kickoff by Jeff Hayes. Here's Greg Pruitt. Out to the 15. Beautiful hurdling moves by Pruitt to reach out near the 30. Anthony Washington on the tackle as we take another look at the move of John Riggins.
Well, they've got 2 tight ends. Nobody can overplay either side. They know they're going to hand it to Riggins. They don't know which way he's going to go, but the cornerbacks do not exactly wait for him to get out into their area. He does punish cornerbacks.
Nice return on the kickoff by Pruitt, 26 yards. And the Raiders stay with the backfield of Kenny King and Frank Hawkins, so Marcus Allen sitting it out right now. This is King. Out to the 33-yard line. Darrell Green, the left cornerback, number 28, involved along with Neil Okowitz, middle linebacker. And checking out the Redskins defensively, Liebenstein, Butts, Grant, and Manley up front. Here are the linebackers. Rich Malott having a solid season. And in the secondary, the rookie from Texas A&I, number 1 draft pick, Darrell Green, along with Jordan, Murphy, and Dean. Frank Hawkins to the 35, picked up 2. It'll be a 3rd down and 5. Curtis Jordan there for the stop.
We saw the opening lineups, and one man who not only is the steadying influence in the middle of the line, but also a great defensive tackle. Number 65, Dave Butt. He's good enough so that in an exchange draft, the National Football League awarded 2 firsts and a second draft choice to St. Louis when he came over as a free agent in '74. He's been playing great football for the last 6 years.
Yeah, he's coming off his best season in the NFL. Plunkett in trouble. Dexter Manley, number 72, with the sack, but a flag thrown. And Dexter, who is always talkative, not in a friendly mood.
Well, he's the man that mentioned, against the Raiders, what you have to do is you have to do your playing while the ball is in play, not afterwards, because the Raiders will intimidate. Well, he got caught here, and I think there's going to be some kind of a 5-yard penalty for face mask. And he says he didn't, but it's clear to see he did. It wasn't intentional, but it was on the rim.
Number 72, defense, still 3rd down.
So the crowd reacting to the face mask called on Dexter Manley. Yes, Dexter said you have to watch out for the Raiders for late hits and sarcastic conversation.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have said it. I've never found them that way.
3rd down and 4. And Plunkett gets it away. A beautiful interception. Ken Coffey, the nickel back, picking off the pass intended for Todd Christensen.
There is another flag on the field, however, Marv, and Pat Haggerty, the referee, is trying to get everyone to not walk off the field, so it could be another penalty against the Redskins.
Personal foul, number 69 on the return.
Oh, on the return. That's after the interception. Harry Brooks.
There's Brooks, 69, 6th year out of Southern. So that was after the ball was picked off by Ken Coffey, who came up with his 2nd interception of the season. And Plunkett has been picked off twice in this first quarter, the first time by Jordan, which led to the touchdown.
So what will happen is they will mark 15 yards off from the spot he returned the ball.
Chicago in front of Denver 7-0 in the first quarter as we check the scoreboard. And New England leading San Francisco 6-0 in the first. Redskins first down back at their 33. Weisman out of the roll. Nice sideline pattern with Charlie Brown for the first down. Lester Hayes on the coverage, so the Redskins go right at Hayes.
And the way they did it is the impressive thing. This is the way they played Miami in the Super Bowl, as we see a flag thrown, but it looks like a late face mask call again. I don't think it'll affect the play. But who knows? Yep, seems to be going back to the line of scrimmage. We better wait.
John, we have covered the Raiders twice earlier this season, and we discussed the personality of the various referees who have headed up the officiating team as we listened to the call by Pat Haggerty.
Offensive pass interference, number 87. First down.
Offensive pass interference on Charlie Brown, so they move it right back. How would you break down the officiating of Pat Haggerty?
Very consistent and effective, and he will be in control of the ball game, and you'll notice that by the way he's taken charge early.
He won't take charge in the same manner as a Ben Dreyfus.
He doesn't tell him to get off the field and mind their own business, but he does his job.
It is a first down and 20, back at the 23. Dyson can't find anyone. Howie Long and Lyle Alzado bring him down.
You know, you'd say, Joe, why don't you throw the ball? I mean, anywhere you throw it has to be better than taking the punishment of a hit. But as we take a look at the coverage, here's the wide shot. You see Joe going back. Now take a look to the left of your screen. He's trying to throw a screen pass. But Rod Martin is standing right in the middle of the screen, so he can't throw the ball. He can't throw the ball away because if you look, all of his receivers are perfectly covered. If he throws in the middle, it's grounding the ball. So he does about the only thing left.
And he now has a second down and 32 back at the 11. Penalty marker thrown as the ball was batted down. Looks to be Alzado, and there's Howie Long in an animated discussion.
There we go again.
Mark May, the Redskin right guard, and the left defensive end, Howie Long, who said before the game, you know, we're not very welcome when we travel talking about the Raider Ball Club. Howie said, would you want your daughter to marry a Raider? I don't know. Howie may be taking it a step further.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've been around them for so long that I know all that stuff is baloney, but a lot of people buy it, and they seem to have an effect on their opponents on Sunday, and so they stay with it. But right now,
Holding 74, decline.
they're playing just the way they've been playing all year. As we look at Charlie Sumner, who is the defensive coordinator, and I guess, Marv, if you were to typify certain coaches, some coaches can get jobs, others can do jobs. And I think if there's one guy that epitomizes that phrase, it would be Charlie Sumner. He's the coordinator. He was the guy who started the safety blitz with the Chicago Bears as a player. And, you know, he even worked for the Raiders once, went to New England, as you well know, and stated to me earlier, and has come back. That's how much Al Davis respects his ability.
That's most unusual, where a guy leaves the Raiders and not on the best of terms.
He is now.
They want him back. All right, that hold called on George Stark. Third down and very long. Joe Washington out near the 15, but it will be punt formation for the Redskins. Otis McKinney on the stop of Washington. Redskins lead it 7-0. They've intercepted Jim Plunkett twice, one leading to a touchdown. Marv Albert with John Brody. Capacity crowd here at RFK Stadium with 7.5 remaining in the first quarter. And this is Jeff Hayes, second season out of North Carolina.
How many times do you see a team go into punt formation after picking off a ball at midfield from their own end zone?
And that's Hayes back at the goal line. Greg Pruitt calling for the fair catch, and much extracurricular activity. Look out.
You know, they talk about the Raiders, but that time Charles Mann, number 71, a rookie, he got in the act, decided, hey, if they want to play that way, let me have a go at it. This is my style. He was one of the few rookies on the team. They've only got 3.
And it was Greg Williams, backup defensive back, involved for the Redskins. 41-yard punt by Jeff Hayes, and the action is just heating up.
To get control of the game, and I think right now it'll start settling down.
First down at the 43-yard line. Frank Hawkins met head-on Dave Butts, number 65 in his 11th season out of Purdue, was right there.
Dave Butts has been there a lot in the last few years. They're one of the few teams to play that standard 4-3 defense. Butts gets head on with the guard. Not too many guards can handle him one-on-one. That time he wins the battle, picks up the back before he gets started.
Loss of 4, second and 14 at the 39. 6.5 left, first quarter. Redskins 7, and the Raiders nothing. Plunkett looking, can't find anyone. But a good gain for Jim Plunkett. Getting out to midfield. Darrell Green submarined him. All right, we're set for another update from our studios back in New York. So let's go to NFL 83.
Okay, thank you, Marv. In Cincinnati, here come the Colts again. Another Arizona State rookie. This one, Alvin Moore, takes it in 9 yards. It's 7-3 Colts. Back to you, Marv.
Thank you, Len. 12-yard gain for Plunkett. Third down and 2.
You could tell Plunkett's a little hot. He tried to get a few more yards than he generally does. He's trying to make up for a few early errors.
Kenny King on the fumble. And let's see, it is Washington on the recovery. Darrell Green, the rookie, number 28, recovering. So the Redskins take over.
What happened there is something that hasn't happened the other side of the coin in 636 running plays. Whether it'll happen or not today, we don't know, but that's some stat.
Green, the rookie from Texas A&I, fits right into the Redskins Smurf image at 5'8", 170 pounds, coming up with the third turnover. And it has cost the Raiders here in the first quarter. John Riggins with another power move. Matt Millen there to make the stop.
You know, they talk so much about money, and then they talk about prestige. I think more than anything, what you're seeing right now is the pride that both these groups respectively have for their own group. The defensive line and linebackers for the Raiders, I think, are regarded right now as the team that's playing best in the NFL. Offensively, you see the same thing for Washington, and they're just having a nice, good go at one another.
And here's Riggins having a go to the 45-yard line. 3-yard advance. And this will establish a 3rd down and 5. Martin and Nelson combining on the stop. 2 years ago, there were many who thought that Riggins was finishing out his career as a backup player. Turned it around last year, put together a record 3 straight 100-yard playoff games, and then set the Super Bowl record with 166 yards.
The people that thought his days were gone didn't know an awful lot about the man.
Of course, he wasn't satisfied in terms of his contract at the time also. That was taken care of right after the Super Bowl. Here's 3rd down and 5. Intended for number 89, Alvin Garrett.
But the first time I've seen it in a 3rd down situation, somebody finally found a way to pick on Lester Hayes. We mentioned at the outset he's one-on-one with Alvin Garrett, whoever the wide receiver is. This time he's got number 89 all over the field. Garrett in motion, comes down, gives himself some room to the outside, does everything perfectly but catch the ball. There are certain passes you can be excused for dropping, but 3rd down possession passes, that isn't a good deal.
And here's Greg Pruitt as a result of waiting. The punt from Jeff Hayes.
Oh, my. Well, we'll see who they call it on, because if it's against the Raiders, it's a 1st down. They got a lot of players that are very willing to make the call.
Encroachment, defense, number 54.
And Tom Flores does not like it. Darrell Byrd, the linebacker, called for the penalty.
And that's a very dumb play. The reason it's a dumb play is I don't care whether they encroach or they pull you off, whatever they do, it's like giving them a turnover. That's as important as an interception. And the same thing was true with Alvin Garrett's drop. Those are ball control errors, and it's not okay to make them, and Flores is not going to let him forget it.
Darrell Byrd is a rookie from Illinois. The discussion continues. The Washington offensive unit moving back on as the 1st down is indicated.
Only way that one would have been short is if the stripes are wrong.
All right, Flores looking to walk it off. So Jacoby, Grimm, Bostic, May, Stark back on. 4 minutes, 4 seconds remaining in the 1st quarter. Redskins 7 and the Raiders nothing. Riggins looked like a reverse was being set up. And then Riggins bumped out at the 36. Strong safety Mike Davis, outside linebacker Rod Martin on the bump. Let's get back to New York to NFL 83.
Marv, moments ago in Chicago, Jim McMahon throwing for the Bears. He finds Willie Gault, the sprinter's 5th touchdown of the year already. Chicago leads at 14-0. Back to Washington.
All right, Led, and quarterback Jim McMahon was in the doghouse. They were talking about making some changes.
Sometimes that has an effect one way or another. With McMahon, it seemed to work in the right direction.
Washington 2nd down and 6 at the Raider 36. And a timeout being called by the Redskins. So they'll talk it over with Joe Gibbs. Just under 4 minutes remaining. 1st quarter. And Washington, by virtue of 3 turnovers by the Raiders, leading at 7-0. Head coach Joe Gibbs has just inserted number 81, Art Monk, into the ballgame. First time that Art has seen action this season. He's been on injured reserve. John Riggins near the 1st down marker. Tackled by Rod Martin. Lyle Alzado also involved. Art Monk making it back from a knee injury, seeing his first action.
And I do want to get back to him in just a second, Marv. As you see, this looks like a play that the Raiders have been stopping for no gain all year long. It picked up 5 yards, and it shows you the strength of the offensive line for the Redskins. We're looking at a few scores. Denver still is not scoring in the 1st half. Chicago's got a 12-zip lead.
And it's a 3rd down and 1. And here's Riggins. And he has picked it up.
Depending on the spot.
All right, Nelson,
got it.
Nelson and Martin combining on the tackle. And we'll have to wait until they unravel. Look like from the angle up here, yes.
It is. That's what's called 10 yards in 3 plays. That's the way their offense likes to be able to work. Give the ball to Riggins 3 times, let him pick up a first down. Talking about Art Monk, he adds a new dimension to them, Marv, and I know that's about what you were alluding to, but he's bigger, he can catch the ball inside better, and he's got great speed to get deep.
And Art missed the Super Bowl last year because of an injury, and many folks thought, no way the Skins could do anything. This is the tight end, Rick Walker. So Walker with his first reception of the day and picks up a first down. Van McElroy and Ted Hendricks combine on the tackle.
You may see Joe Theismann throw the ball outside all day long. It's the only place that it's real that there is a vulnerability as far as the Raider defense is concerned. They try to get, this time it was tight end Rick Walker on Mike Davis. They run people in motion. They do different things to get in one-on-one situation. They got a good matchup, and they took advantage of it.
Rick Walker had a terrific game against the Raiders the last time these clubs met a couple of years back. 5 receptions, 55 yards. First down, 13-yard line, and here's Riggins. Picked up 3. Millen and Reese stack him up. And you can hear the impact of Riggins making contact with the Raider defense.
That's because there was a slight bit of resistance from number 55, Matt Millen. Those two will make contact with one another. And Seattle's got Cleveland 3-0. The Niners scored to go out ahead of New England. Look at Cincinnati having a little trouble with Baltimore, but hanging on. And Green Bay's making a comeback.
John Riggins now 46 yards, 12 carries. We're still first quarter with 2 minutes remaining. Play action. And the Raiders did not go for it. A one-handed sack by Howie Long.
You think those fellas aren't strong? Now, Joe Theismann weighs almost 200 pounds, and although he looks like a midget, he's 6 foot tall. At least it says that in the program. And to be able to take a man like that with one hand and absolutely stuff him, that's what the official was calling here. He had no chance to get away from Long, even though he only had him by one arm. Look at this. Boop. Thank you very much. And now it's their first 3rd and 15.
And the Raiders with 3 sacks for 27 yards, setting up a 3rd down, 16 back at the 19. Again, the play action, and Theismann fires. Art Monk, the intended receiver, covered by James Davis.
Boy, those cornerbacks are going to get their workout today, and I think we're going to see a good illustration as to why. Joe Jacoby, who was a free agent, 3rd-year player, is playing against a man that's had a smorgasbord playing defense, Lyle Alzado. That time, Alzado did not even get close. He goes to the outside, Jacoby standing up, he's on him, watch this. Now as he gets toward the quarterback, he just gives him a nice little push, and it is no contest. That's a quarterback's dream.
A smorgasbord, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just stick around, you pick out the one you like.
And Mark Mosley was off the mark. Mark Mosley attempting from 31 yards away, not able to hit.
Well, they've had the ball an awful lot in this first quarter of play. We've got 1:19 to go in the first quarter, and I'll bet you that the Redskins have had it for 10 minutes of that time. They've only got 7 points to show for it. They have an opportunity to make more than that. That might be long in the outcome.
Announcement furnished as a public service by the National Football League.
That's not bad. That's not a bad stat if you're kicking conversions.
Well, Mark Mosley had a sensational year last season. This year he is now 8 for 11.
That's an awfully high percentage, and I can see why he's disappointed because that was a chip shot for him.
So the Raiders off the play action. Here's Plunkett for Barnwell. Oof. And he is submarined down at the 45-yard line. Malcolm Barnwell, one of the favorite receivers of Jim Plunkett. Raiders deep threat, has good speed. Third year out of Virginia Union, picking up 25 yards on the play.
Well-thrown ball. One of the things that I think Plunkett does best is throw the ball in between linebackers and defensive backs. You see he runs a play-action pass to get the linebackers isolated so that Barnwell can get deep about 15 yards. He lays it right on the money, and they've got a first.
And it's picked off for the third time today. Mel Kaufman intercepting Plunkett. Jim Plunkett has been intercepted 3 times in this first quarter.
All right, and people are going to be very critical of that one, but that was the one ball that wasn't a bad pass. We pick up Kaufman coming off with an interception, but he picked off a short out. He took it on the dead run with 23 yards. After he caught it on the board, they've got the ball on the 23-yard line. Plunkett threw 2 bad interceptions early, but that looked like a great defensive play to me.
Washington first down at the Raiders 23-yard line. And here's Riggins. Inside the 20, Mike Davis, the strong safety, stripping the ball, but after the whistle. All right, there's Mel Kaufman. Guy very effective against the run.
Well, he is, except what they do is they put Rich Malott generally in a situation where he makes a lot of plays at the line of scrimmage. Kaufman takes the tight ends out of the back, off the line of scrimmage. He sometimes covers the tight end all over the field. They think he's an outstanding pass coverer, and I can see why they think so with the play he just made.
And the first quarter has come to a close. A big first quarter for the Washington Redskins. When we resume, they'll be second down and 7 at the Los Angeles 20. We'll be right back.
After the Colts scored, the Bengals came right back. Anderson bombs away to Collinsworth. This set up 1 touchdown. They scored another one, and now the Colts are threatening. 17-7 Cincinnati. Back to Washington.
Marv Albert, John Brodie from RFK in Washington. Jim Plunkett is just trying to walk it off, but trying to do it without Marcus Allen, who's been sitting it out with that bruised hip. Redskins second and 7. Out of the 20 as we get underway, second quarter. And John Riggins finding the hole and picking his way for yardage. And Hendricks.
They've moved a little better to the right than they have to the left. I think you'll see them move that way in the next few offensive rushing plays. Generally, you'd expect them to move real well over Jacoby. They seem to be playing as strong over there, but they have had success running to the right. You mentioned Jim Plunkett may be having a problem because Marcus Allen is not in the lineup. I think what it does, more than anything, is it changes the way he tries to attack. And in so doing, sometimes when a fella doesn't get injured until the day of the game and you think he's going to play all week, you've got certain plays prepared for the defense you're playing, and I'm sure they included Marcus a great deal. He's not there, you got to do it on your arm. But I think that's the quality that a quarterback has to have, to get things turned against you and come back. And if there's one guy that's had a lot of things going against him over the past 13 or 14 years and come back, it's Jim Plunkett.
And Marcus said before the game, although he was a question mark, that he would play, and he may yet play. We may see him. First down picked up by the Redskins. At the 13, again, the single back is Riggins, and again it's Riggins. So the short pickup, Archie Reese and Matt Millen combined on the stop.
Well, it's a tough day. It's going to be a long one for Lyle if the offense for the Raiders doesn't keep the defense off the field some. He's tired. He's playing against a big, strong All-Pro in Joe Jacoby. You can see he doesn't know where the ball carrier is because he can't see over the top of Jacoby. Leaves it for the linebackers to pick up, and they do a fine job. But for Lyle, he's just trying to find out where everybody is.
And Joe Jacoby goes 6'7", 298 pounds plus. Part of the huge Washington offensive line. Weisman looking, end zone. Charlie Brown out of the end zone.
Ted Watts was playing it short, and he was trying to pick off a short out. Charlie Brown went right behind him. I don't think Theismann realized that the play was going to be done the way Watts elected to do it. Tried to make a fine throw and just a little bit too far.
Charlie Brown in his second year, South Carolina State, was an 8th-round draft pick. Spent his rookie year on injured reserve. Then last year, catapulted to Pro Bowl status. Both Theismann and Plunkett only 1 for 5, but Plunkett has been picked off 3 times. Redskins continue to alter their formation. 3rd down and 7. And again, Theismann could not find a receiver. Good coverage by the Raiders. Townsend and Piquel getting to Theismann.
Well, he's trying to get to somebody late to the outside. If you take more than 2.5 or 3 seconds, you will not have time against the Raider defense. Charlie Sumner has been sitting there in a hole since the time this game started. He inserts the plays. He gives the defensive linebackers, Hendricks and Millen, an opportunity. They changed the defense as we watched number 3, Mark Mosley, try and kick the field goal.
28-yard attempt, and this one is good. So Mosley, who missed moments ago, putting this one right through. And the Redskins, who have had their way in this first half, now lead the Raiders by the score of 10-0. Stadium in Washington, D.C., along with John Brody. This is Marv Albert. Redskins off the 28-yard field goal by Mark Mosley have taken a 10-0 lead on the undefeated Los Angeles Raiders, who come in at 4-0. The kickoff by Hayes. This is Pruitt. Out to the 10. 20. 25. Reggie Evans leading the attack on Greg Pruitt over at the far side, but a flag has been thrown. Ball is being spotted at the 25-yard line, and apparently that flag was waved off.
Peter Cronin, one of those linebackers that they keep specifically for special teams, been an outstanding special teams player for them. Looking around, finally finds the ball carrier, and that's where they have him.
There's Kenny King out to the 28-yard line.
As we went from one mass of humanity to another.
And Marcus Allen sitting it out with that bruised hip. Did not play at all in the second half last week against Denver.
He doesn't like it, but he will not play today, I'm sure, or he would already be in there. And I think you'd say, well, does that change what Jim has to do? Behind 10-0 changes a little bit, but Kenny King is an outstanding running back. Remember.
And on the draw, this is Hawkins. And a first down, Frank Hawkins, in his 3rd year out of Nevada, Reno. Stopped by the strong safety, Curtis Jordan.
And that's the way to get the ball back into control, getting people settled down. The offensive line really hasn't had a chance to hit anybody. Take a look at Plunk. He's thrown the ball on 1st and 2nd down so much, a draw play is set up. And particularly when he beats the safety blitz. They were coming right after Plunkett with a safety blitz, and he got away from the safety man.
And now Plunkett to throw. First down. He had the time. Todd Christensen ran down, and an interference call upcoming.
I think they got to Todd before the ball was thrown. I don't know what happened, or it could be going the other way for all I know. Push off.
Oh. And Christensen does not like it.
He doesn't like it, but he's not, when you're having a problem getting open, and he's one-on-one with Curtis Jordan, who picked the ball off earlier in the game. You can see he ran to him. That's as much Jordan's spot as it is Christensen. He pushes off him, tries to get to an open area, commits a foul.
I saw the aftermath of that, so it is called on the tight end, Christensen.
Offensive pass interference, number 46.
And it's a first down and 20 back at the 27. Washington Redskins, very difficult to run against. Last week, held Kurt Warner of Seattle to 34 yards on 15 carries.
Well, Joe Bugle on the offense, we just saw him over there. He's trying to keep his group pumped up because You don't keep the Raiders playing the way they've been playing so far in the first quarter and a half all game long. You can see it's getting a little frustrating when the quarterback doesn't throw it right, the receiver drops it. You talk about receivers you can count on. Cliff Branch having a fine year. Runs underneath Vernon Dean in the spot we talked about. He is vulnerable. Plunkett puts it right there. Back to the line of scrimmage.
And that is the second catchable ball that Branch has not come up with in this first half. 3.5 gone by, second quarter. And here is Plunkett looking again and going deep for Branch. That time off the mark.
Not way off the mark. You can pretty well tell what they want to do. When they get Vernon Dean, who is number 32, one-on-one on Cliff Branch, and right now that's the situation. This is Branch 21. He takes Dean into the center of the field. At the hash mark, he breaks toward the corner, has him beat by a step. Plunkett overthrows it by about a foot, but you can bet there'll be more of that to come.
And Plunkett is now 1 for 7. But the key, he has been intercepted 3 times, all 3 in the first quarter. 3rd down and 20. Back at the 27. And they're calling it a sack. Well, a quick whistle according to the Raiders, but their drive has concluded.
Well, Tony McGee, one of the pass rushing specialists for the Redskins, got in there and got a hold of Plunkett. Now, they did the same thing with Theismann. Now, you can't sit there and say, well, Plunkett's 6'4", 220 pounds. McGee's got a hold of him, but maybe he can get loose. If you're going to call Theismann dead, you have to do the same thing with Plunkett.
This all part of the National Football League looking to protect the quarterback and cut down on the injury. We saw Howie Long with that one-arm spin move on Theismann, which received the quick whistle. Ray Guy is back for his first punt of the day, back at his 5-yard line. He enjoyed the thin air in Denver last week. Not that Ray needs any help.
He doesn't enjoy Ray Nelms back there.
All right, here's Nelms at the 25, 35, midfield. It's Guy slowing him down. And once again, some extracurricular action. Raiders and the Redskins are heated up. Penalty marker thrown.
Otis McKinney was chasing after Otis Wansley. Now, maybe they don't like one another stealing each other's name. I don't know what the problem is, but I do know that those two were having a go at one another.
This has not been a friendly first half.
And I doubt
conduct.
Yeah, I don't think you can pick one of those two out. Flores is one of the few men in control of himself right now, particularly on the Raiders side of the field. Joe Gibbs has everything going just the way he'd like it.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Offense and defense offsetting penalty.
All that does is stop the play. It changes nothing.
Well, that's the only call, as announced by Pat Haggerty. But the beauty of that play, the return by Mike Nelms, 35-yard return on the punt by Ray Guy. And it's a first down at the Raider 44. Theismann asked for quiet. That's Monk in motion. And Washington with the ball. Very short pickup for Joe Washington. Right here, let's pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC Television Network.
KZBC, TV3, Las Vegas.
A packed house, 125th consecutive sellout here in Washington, 55,045. In fact, 3 of the last 5 home games, 0 no-show total. Marv Albert with John Brodie, 2nd and 8 for the Redskins at the Raider 42. Washington. Again, a very short pickup. Ted Hendricks right there.
You know, you take a look at the Raiders and you say they're intimidating, they're big, and they're strong. But I tell you what they are more than anything is quick, and I think it's epitomized by number 83. You see the way he throws tight ends around? He's got Don Warren there, and he pitches him around like he's a 140-pound pal. He weighs 240.
And Ted is playing his 204th consecutive game. That's the longest consecutive game streak in the NFL right now. Theismann in big trouble. Alzado not able to get the wrap. Not too much area for Theismann to connect. He was going sideline from the sideline.
No, but I do think he's doing the right thing. He'll go back, and if he has to run a pattern that's going to take more than 3 seconds, he's going to go back, and it's predetermined. He gets a block from his tight end to allow him to roll out one way or another, buy a little bit of time, cut the throwing angle down so that he can complete him to the outside. It was incomplete, but it's the best way to attack.
And Jeff Hayes punting for the 3rd time this afternoon. Greg Pruitt back at his 10. Just under 10 minutes left, first half. And the Redskins 10, Raiders nothing. Big rush, and Hayes just did get it off. Redskins look to down it and succeed. Ken Coffey, the man who placed it down. So the Raiders hemmed in as they start up deep in their own territory. When we come back, what Plunkett will do. 9.5 remaining in this first half. Plunkett deep in his end zone and firing for Branch. Cliff Branch.
He is gone, folks.
Wow, 99 yards. That's what Plunkett answers with. And the Raiders right back in it.
Somebody said, do you think the Raiders are complacent, Marv? All you have to do is look over at the bench. If you notice Tom Flores in your picture, they are up for the ball game. They've seen everything that can happen go against them so far today. They've hung in there about as well as the defense can. They finally get the ball on the 1-foot line. Plunkett's thrown 3 interceptions. The receivers have dropped the ball. We mentioned that they're going to keep coming toward Branch. This time he caught Dean trying to pick one off. He tried to play Branch real tight up the line of scrimmage. Branch got by. Plunkett hit him. This is what Al Davis says is our brand of football, but 99 yards is a bit much. As you can see, that's the unemotional Tom Flores.
And that is the longest touchdown pass play in the history of the Raider franchise.
And there will never be one longer.
Good point, John. All right, Chris Barr putting it through. So, it is now the Redskins 10 and the Raiders 7. We'll be right back. At the Raider bench, think he picked up a cramp.
Well, he either picked up a cramp or a pulled muscle or a pulled hamstring, because down about the 15-yard line, you could see him pull up. It looked, you didn't know whether he was just kind of cruising it on in, but it looked at the time as if he had pulled something just a bit. We'll have to wait until the next series to tell.
All right, Mike Nelms for the Redskins. He slipped. Quick to get back up, but driven back inside the 20-yard line. And the Redskins, well, penalty marker down. Jeff Barnes on the stop of Nelms, but another flag has been thrown.
We did the Raider ball game last week, Marvin. I noticed you mentioning there were so few.
Conduct on both sides. Foul is offset.
Well, again, the offsetting penalties as the tempers continue to flare. Unsportsmanlike on both sides. Chicago walloping Denver now 21-0.
They're being a bit unsportsmanlike to Denver. Denver's having a little problem offensively. They're going to have to regroup. Minnesota's making a fine comeback. You knew it was about Dallas's turn for something to turn. And Houston is trying to hang in there against Pittsburgh. That's a tough chore. There's a high-scoring contest.
All right, first down inside the 20. And Theismann throws the bullet. Art Monk with his first reception of the 83 season. So it is broken back. Art Monk, 4th year out of Syracuse, and he's hearing it from the crowd.
Well, I think what you'll notice right now more than anything is how observant and aware the Redskin fans are. They know that Art Monk caught the ball. They know how long he's been out, how much it means to him to get back in the lineup. And I'll tell you, this is the dimension he has. He can catch the ball in the crowd inside. You have that big back. A quarterback can see him easier. He can get the ball to him. And if you don't have a fellow 6'3" or 6'4", it really makes it harder to throw that kind of pass inside.
And adds that extra dimension. Art can go at running back to be tough on a reverse. Picked up 18 yards on the play. Nice play action. Charlie Brown. So Brown on the screen has picked up the first down. It is Howie Long involved with Mark May. And again, the flag thrown.
See, everybody in the house is throwing one.
The personal foul called on Long of the Raiders.
What generally happens is if you don't see the initial foul itself, you don't try and make a judgment on the reaction to it. And that's what's happened here before. This time you saw the initial foul. There's a group back in New England having quite a tussle.
Personal foul, number 75, after the play was over. First down.
So the yardage picked up by the Redskins. Bengals over the Colts, 17-14 in a high-scoring affair in the second quarter. And Green Bay walloping winless Tampa Bay 35-7. So Green Bay looking to turn it around following the loss to the Giants last Monday. First down at the Raiders 36-yard line. That's Monk in motion. And Riggins picked up a couple. Archie Reese there on the tackle.
You know, we talked so much about the loss of quarterbacks, and I think it's only right. You see Tampa Bay, which was a playoff contender the last several years. They don't have Doug Williams. They're 0-5. And when you talk about the importance to a team, sometimes it's not the stats that are the indicator of the importance. In this case, Doug Williams was the personality of the Tampa Bay Bucks, and I think they've got to find a new one.
Well, they now feel they're going to go at the throwing Samoan.
Well, that's fine, but
Jack Thompson.
that's not the whole answer.
Second down and 8. Bison looking for Monk. He's got it. Art Monk for the first down inside the 15. Otis McKinney with the tackle that prevented a touchdown.
Well, you see Lester Hayes is a little dejected. We mentioned before the start of the game, the only way you're going to get to the Raider defense is get on top and try Lester Hayes. Joe Bugle mentioned before the ball game that, hey, we're not going to let this man intimidate us. And they're taking their best receiver in Monk. Mike Davis cuts Lester Hayes off from the play. That's that motion stuff. Moving people all around, sometimes it gets the defensive people to run into each other. Good offensive structure.
23-yard gain for Monk. First down at the 11. Riggins. John Riggins inside the 10. Martin and Hendricks were there. It's been a terrific first half for Riggins.
Not for those three. No, that's Steve Ortmeyer, one of the executives with the Raiders now, involved with personnel. Charlie Sumner and Tom Flores, they're just hanging in there at this point.
Art Mosley getting ready just in case, or perhaps for an extra point. Riggins, 64 yards, 17 carries, second down and 6. And this is Riggins to the 5.
Hey, if I'm Washington, I want to take a shot at getting in that end zone, because 3 points would be a little disappointing. With all the good things we've done in this half, to be leading by less than a touchdown would not be satisfactory to me, and I'm sure it's not to Joe Theismann. He'd like to run some kind of a rollout, get one of the tight ends on some kind of a movement play. We'll see what's called.
Has a third down and 4. Here's a correction on the earlier score that was posted. It is San Francisco in front of New England, 14-6.
That's better.
In the second quarter. Still rooting for your old ball club.
You bet.
All right, Theismann. Touchdown. Joe Washington.
This is the first drive that the Raiders have allowed against them all year long. It was a beautiful drive. It was well conceived. They ran different receivers throughout different areas. Joe Theismann was on the mark. He was very patient. They used Riggins to eat up a lot of the clock, keep him in a situation. And at the end, Theismann makes a perfect throw to Washington. Didn't look like it was perfect, but it's the only place it could have been thrown.
And the extra point added by Mark Mosley, so Joe Washington with his first touchdown of the season. 80 yards, 6 plays in just under 4 minutes. Redskins 17, Raiders 7. Man out of Oklahoma who has made it back from 2 knee operations, Joe Washington, on the receiving end of his first touchdown of the season. And the Redskins now lead the Raiders 17-7. Greg Phillips out to the 15. Good coverage by the Redskins, noted for their special teams. They very rarely allow a long gainer.
Well, it is not pleasurable to receive the ball if you're trying to beat those fellas. I know that on those special teams. And Sonny Jurgensen mentioned to me earlier in the before the ball game, he said, you know, I don't think anybody really recognizes how dangerous their special teams are. He says they're the most offensive group of special teams players I've ever seen. And he says Nelms is really a treat.
Offensive in terms of...
offensive in terms of what they're doing is they're really taking it to you.
So there is an intimidating factor there.
You got it.
First out at the 18. And Frank Hawkins tackled by combination of Butts and Grant. Liebenstein, Butts, Grant, Manley up front, Kaufman, Olkowitz, Malott, the linebackers, secondary, Green, Jordan, Murphy, and Dean.
You see, the Raiders offensively have been a very opportunistic team this year offensively. Now they put themselves in a hole when they're on offense. They've only rushed for 24 yards, and that stat passing 124 is misleading because 99 of it came on one play.
Here's second down, 6. Barnwell for the first down. So Malcolm Barnwell picks it up, followed out by Darrell Green, the left cornerback. Cliff Branch, we're told, pulled a hamstring and is a doubtful.
Well, that's what it looked like about that 15-yard line, and I doubt if he will be back. You know, Jim Plunkett, even though those 2 spirals, the 3 interceptions he did throw, were perfect spirals. It's like some days you're not throwing the ball very well, and you get some interceptions because of it. Today, a couple missed bad decisions, but he is throwing the ball well.
Kenny King, very short pickup. Mel Kaufman, the linebacker on the left, and on the stop. So the Raiders, without Marcus Allen, he has sat it out with that bruised hip, and now with Coach Cliff Branch, after going 99 yards for the longest touchdown in Raider history, has a hamstring and is a doubtful.
What it's going to do is just change the way Plunkett plays. He's allowed Marcus Allen and Branch to run the show, let their defense play. Plunkett knows it's on his shoulders now, and he loves the challenge.
Looking for Barnwell. Malcolm Barnwell inside the 25, covered by Darrell Green, but a beautiful over-the-shoulder reception by that guy, number 80.
It was a beautiful reception, but the ball was placed in a perfect spot to catch. If you're a receiver, you like that ball coming down. Plunkett has good stuff on the ball, puts it in a perfect spot. Barnwell sees it the whole way, takes it easily, and steps out of bounds.
38-yard play, so Plunkett succeeding now with the big play as a first down inside the Washington 25. Hawkins and King, the running back. The short set. Calvin Muhammad, followed out by Vernon Dean. Muhammad in his second season out of Texas Southern, actually drafted back in 1980, first played in the Canadian Football League.
I was laughing at the fact, Marv. Plunkett, you know, quarterbacks do have funny little thoughts. He's thinking about that short out pattern. He's saying, I don't think I'll throw it over there on Kaufman's side. Let's just see if Malott's as quick as Kaufman. The out's open, but the linebacker jumped in the way the last time.
All right, a second down and 2 at the 16. Hawkins. Looked like he picked it up. Dave Butts covering him up. I don't know if quarterbacks had funny thoughts. John, you always have this bizarre way of looking at
You
things.
get some thoughts that are so bizarre that you don't want to let anybody know you had them. Try taking the ball from center with 10 guys at 6'8", and you don't want to ever let anybody know what you can see.
First down for the Raiders. At the 13-yard line, they stay with King and Hawkins. And this is Hawkins. And he lost his balance as he hit the right side. Mel Kaufman on the tackle. Picked up a yard. Second down, 9. 3 minutes, 10 seconds left, first half. And the Redskins lead it by the score of 17-7. Redskins come in at 3-1. Beating Philadelphia, Kansas City, and Seattle, defeating the Seahawks last week, 27-17. Raiders at 4-0. Coming off the win over the Broncos in Denver last Sunday. Here's Hawkins. And a fumble. Looked like, let's see. Apparently the Raiders did cover up. Neil Okowitz on the stop. Hawkins not showing his usual acceleration, having trouble getting off the ball.
Well, I'll tell you what, it looks like he's having trouble getting off the ball, but these are draw plays. You know, these last two patterns have been draw plays. It's a kind of a late delayed trap. And yes, it does look like he's getting off late on the ball, but in actuality, Plunkett's expecting the linebackers to be getting out of there, and they're not doing it.
Third down, 7. Plunkett just firing it, and it's intercepted. Bad toss by Plunkett.
Oh, my, look at this. They're calling him down. Plunkett threw the ball. They said Dexter Manley had him down before he threw it. Now, if defensive linemen are going to complain that they had him down after he throws a completion late, I guess when he throws an interception, the same rule applies. We've seen it 3 times. We mentioned Haggerty was very consistent, okay? This he is. He sees that Plunkett is in Manley's grasp, calls it dead before he throws it. It's okay if you do make the same call all the time, and that's one thing Haggerty's done. I may not agree with any of the 3 of them, but at least he's called them consistently.
Well, Mark Murphy came up with the ball, but it is ruled a sack, credited to Dexter Manley. Third sack of the day by the Redskins, and Chris Barr will attempt a field goal. But first, a timeout call. The 2-minute warning has been provided. Pulled a hamstring and running the final yards of that 99-yard pass play, combining with Jim Plunkett. But right now, Chris Barr attempting a 41-yard field goal. Barr is 4 for 7 on the season and not noted for long-range kicking. That time, deflected.
Deflected. That thing never did get over the center's fanny. It looked like he hit the ball real high, and it just was one of those ugly-looking squirters. He's been kicking pretty darn well this year, but this ball he gets too high, never gets up. It's missed from the time he makes contact.
So the score remains the Redskins 17 and the Raiders 7. See, last week, Barr hit from 27 and 29 against Denver. Got off to the slow start, hitting only 2 or 5.
Right.
All right, coming up next, San Diego Chargers trying to get on track against the New York Giants, or in some areas you'll see the Dolphins taking on the New Orleans Saints. So stay with us for a full schedule of football. Charlie Brown has picked up the first down, run out by Rod Martin.
You know, I'm very impressed watching the way Joe Gibbs and Joe Bugle are attacking the Raider defense. We mentioned earlier that no one has really tried their corners. These fellas are doing that. Now, Gibbs is no stranger to the Raider style of defense. He was down at San Diego as an offensive coordinator for years. That was their real battle of the year, and he's attacking them the same way as he did at San Diego, and that's pretty effective.
First down at the 38. Weissman going sideline. Let's see if they call it complete. Yes, they do. Charlie Brown again. And another Washington first down at the Raider 39-yard line.
And it looks like Charlie Brown's hurting. He'll be back.
23-yard pass play. Charlie Brown.
Marcus Allen a little concerned. You see, he has never seen, he's not used to having anybody with more points on the scoreboard than he has, and he's not used to missing games. This is the first National Football League game he hasn't played in, and you can see how it changes the offensive structure for the Raiders.
Redskins have just called for time. A minute and 42 remaining in the first half. And the Redskins leading it by the score of 17-7. So the Redskins now have one timeout remaining in the half.
Taking a look at Dave Butts, he has done quite a job inside. You wonder why the rushing game will not go very well. They don't even try to run a lot of plays that you'd expect a team to run. They don't run any power plays over Butts' area. They don't run a lot of things. He's pretty hard to draw against, and it makes it tough to run on.
Bison first down at the Raider 39. With time again. Penalty marker down. Virgil C. with his first reception of the day. C. doing it against Ted Watts, but a flag throw.
Yes, sir. They're moving people around so fast you don't know who's out on what corner.
And a procedure call against the Redskins.
Well, they're doing it with motion, and that time they happen to have two of them, I think, in motion at the same time. Could have.
Yes, Joe Gibbs using much motion, constant changing of the formation.
Sure, it kind of nullifies those cornerbacks.
Formation number 66, not on the line of scrimmage.
It's good to confuse the D's. Sometimes you confuse the O's too, as we see Butts taking a rest, and he's had a lot of chance to rest today.
First down and 15, back at the 44, minute and a half left in this first half. Joe Washington in big trouble. And Washington able to get it off as he was being chased by Townsend and Long.
I'll tell you what, that is some kind of quick thinking. Now that one goes back to the line of scrimmage. And, you know, usually you'd say, well, there's 4 or 5 linemen down there, but Rick Walker I don't know if he was an intended receiver, but he was an eligible receiver, and that's all you need. Nobody was down the field. Let's go back and regroup.
Well, he got away with it, but very, very dangerous. I am assuming that Joe Washington's peripheral vision is excellent.
It's not too safe when you're going to lose 30 yards. I don't care what they call. I'm going to take the shot at it.
Could have been picked off.
Oh, maybe.
Wide open field.
Yeah, you're right.
However, second down, 15, and Theismann. That time dropped by Washington. Theismann on target. Mike Davis covering. Washington Redskins have won 18 of their last 20. That's the best run in the NFL since the Raiders went 21-1 in 1976 and 77. That shows how well this franchise has been going.
And how important this game is to both teams, as we see, again, Charlie Sumner, he's trying to find a key. The key is get your offense to hold the ball a little longer. Remember, the Raiders are 13-2.
Art Brown is off to the left now, and Garrett right, and Theismann looking for Brown. Ball was broken up, although Davis was looking to pick it off, and he and McKinney came together. I think Davis thought he would have come up with that football.
That's right. Now take a look. We've been mentioning man-to-man. Notice the changes. Everybody's trying to be one-on-one. McKinney, number 23, is in the middle of the field. He's trying to help out as a free safety, and Mike Davis needs it. He's the safety who is in motion, covering Charlie Brown. It's a good thing McKinney got over there.
And Jeff Hayes in punt formation. Here's Greg Pruitt awaiting the boot from Hayes. And a fair catch.
Oh, he'd like to have that decision over.
I don't understand that, John.
Well, the reason you don't understand it is you've probably never been a returning punt, and neither have I. But when you see that ball up in the air, sometimes you predetermine your thinking, okay? If the ball is somewhere around the 10, I'm not going to take any unnecessary chances. I'm sure he predetermined what he was going to do. There was no one within 15 yards of him. He'd like to have had another shot at it.
All right, a 33-yard punt by Hayes. Next Sunday, join Len Berman as NFL 83 will kick off week number 6 of the National Football League season. And then stay tuned for regional action. New York Jets, Cleveland Browns, Buffalo at Miami, Denver at Houston, New England at Baltimore, Seattle at San Diego. Check your local listing. This is Hawkins. And just at the first down marker, he got the foot in, and let's see where they spot it.
I think he'll be a little short, but he did get a timeout. They've got a minute left in the half, and it looks as if they're trying to get it into some position to try and get 3 more on the board, possible 6. At least they're not giving up and going to the clubhouse.
They're calling it second down and 1. Off the draw, Hawkins. And Hawkins out to the 35 for the first down and more.
Yes.
Mark Murphy, the free safety, making the stop, a 15-yard run by Hawkins.
And timeout, 53 seconds left. It took them 12 seconds to move the ball some 28 yards down the field. The draw play has been the most effective ground weapon for the Raiders, and that figures because most of their offense has come on throwing. So now they've got 53 seconds to put something on the board. Let's see. Chris Barr was ineffective the first time. He's going to get another shot if they can move it down there, son.
And as you see, Raiders with the 2 timeouts left. Redskins have 1. It was John Riggins who saw quite a bit of action in the first quarter. He had 60 yards on the ground in the first quarter. Riggins with a 2-yard run early first to give the Redskins a 7-0 lead, set up by the interception by Curtis Jordan. 1 of 3 picked off by the Redskins in the first half. And Mosley connected from 28 yards after missing moments before from 36 to make it 10-0. Plunkett and Branch combined for a 99-yard touchdown pass on 1st and 10 from the 1. Cutting it to 10-7. Then Theismann to Joe Washington, 4-yard pass play. And that's where we are. 17-7 Washington. Plunkett ball down by Tony McGee. He was able to elude Terry Brooks.
Tony McGee in his 13th year is an awfully effective pass rusher. Generally, you'd say, by the time you're a 13-year guy, you might be able to play the run, but to play the pass well, that's a little bit beyond. I can remember Cedric Hardman, Lyle Alzado's now in his 13th year, Tony McGee. Some guys get a new lease on life, and then they can't be stopped.
4th sack of the day for the Redskins. Plunkett again in trouble. Overthrowing the tight end, Todd Christensen. And we're down to 18 seconds left in the half.
I think that's the biggest problem the Raiders have had offensively. Without Marcus Allen, they have not been able to get to Todd Christensen, who has been their control-type receiver throughout the first 4 ball games and has really been a big part of their offense. The Redskins have nullified him in the first series of plays. They picked off a ball that was intended for him over the middle. Another one Plunkett missed through, and they just haven't been able to connect.
3rd down, 17. Raiders at their 29. And again, Plunkett chased. And again, all down. It's Mac the sack. Tony McGee, his 2nd of the day. Number 5 for the Redskins.
I'll tell you, it doesn't matter what sort of defensive secondary coverage you have. If Tony McGee is rushing the passer the way he has been today, you can play this prevent defense. That's 3 deep across, 4 in the intermediate zone, They're playing it fine, but it's all predicated on an outstanding pass rush, and that's what they're getting.
And we're down to 11 seconds remaining in this first half. Coming up at halftime, a look at what is going on around the National Football League, NFL 83.
Tom Flores is looking at his game plan, and I know many of the calls that have come today have come from something other than that sheet of paper, because I think he intended to have both Cliff Branch available and Marcus Allen.
All right, here is Ray Guy back at a 7. Correction, Tony McGee has 3 sacks on the day.
Yep.
And Guy just did get it off. This is Nelms. Circular route as the clock runs down.
That's a new style of tackling, Marv. We've seen that one about 7 times today. Tony Caldwell employed it that time as the half runs out.
And the Washington Redskins fans with the roar of approval. The end of the first half. Redskins 17, Raiders 7. Back after these messages.
The Raiders, who had not had a touchdown scored on them when the game was in the balance, and even though there was a break against the defense early and the Redskins got a score, the second touchdown was an outstanding drive, and it was engineered by Theismann, who is a very fine opportunist as a quarterback. He's come from a 40% thrower to a 65% thrower with good coaching and perseverance. He's now one of the top quarterbacks in the game, and this man has been equal to the task on several occasions previously, but I think this is the toughest situation he's been placed in if they're to win.
So he'll have to do it with Kenny King and Frank Hawkins in the backfield. King has been very valuable as the other back with Marcus Allen, but now it's a different situation as we get underway in the second half, and the kickoff by Hayes, played by Pruitt. Rick Pruitt accelerating across the 20-yard line. So the Raiders with Bruce Davis and Henry Lawrence at the tackles. Charlie Haddon, Mickey Marvin at the guards. Dave Dalby is the center. 18-yard return by Pruitt.
You know, you look around the league and every quarterback in the game says, man, I tell you, if there was one place I'd like to be, I think the quarterback job for the Oakland Raiders is as close to heaven as you can get. I think some of them would think again if they took a look at the conditions right now.
1st and 10 at the 22 for Plunkett. And this is King on a slant. Picked up a yard. Mark Murphy, the free safety, was right there. There's Murphy, number 29. He calls the defensive signals, led Washington in tackles the last 4 years.
I wondered why he was the leading tackler. When you're a free safety and you're the man that also calls the signals, if he senses the play coming, senses tendencies, he can throw himself into coverage that puts him in responsibility for making the tackle, because he makes an awful lot of them.
Are you saying a Colgate man would do that? All right, here's King. Trying to stiff arm his way.
Nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. It's good defense, and it's a good defensive mind. He's been playing outstandingly well for the past 5 years, and he didn't come with a lot of accolades when he got out of college.
3rd down and 5. The ball is spotted at the 27-yard line. Now, the last meeting between the Raiders and Washington back in 1980, Raiders won in overtime, 24-21. You know, there have been 8 overtime games already this season.
And there are going to be a whole lot more.
Record is 13 in the NFL. Plunkett getting it away. Intended for Kenny King.
You know, Kenny King thought Plunkett was trapped, or he'd have caught that ball on the dead run. He may have come up with a shoulder problem trying to dive for the ball. You mentioned that the Redskins were having that they had played them before. They have never beaten the Raiders. They've played them 3 times before. Here's Plunkett. Now he finally gets out of a problem. King has seen Plunkett in trouble, thought the ball was dead. Had he continued running, he might have caught the ball on the dead run.
You mentioned You expect to see many more overtime games. Any particular reason? It is an unusual high number.
Well, I think that coaches, most of the control is on the sideline, and I think that a lot of times they'll take the tie in a close game from a 3-yard line and go for the win when they're playing at home late. Go for the tie and see if they can win it in overtime. I also think the teams are an awful lot closer now than they were 4 or 5 years ago.
All right, the punt by Guy, not one of his better boots. And the Redskins will take over. So you say it's a combination of balance.
A conservative offensive thought and balance.
And one other factor this year, the road teams have done very well thus far.
Well, you never know who's on the road. These teams are trading so many people back and forth. You find 4 or 5 guys on each team that played with the team that's playing at home.
So Kenny King shaken up on the sideline, landing on his hand in that last series. Ray Guy with only a 30-yard punt. Here's Riggins. Refusing to go down as he reaches out near midfield. Matt Millen on the tackle.
John Riggins continues to impress. A little counter play. Take a step to the left. Hope you can get some linebacker movement. He got some. Matt Millen picks him up after about 3 yards. Those two are a perfect match.
And 74 yards on 19 carries for John Riggins. Looking for that 100 mark this afternoon. Picked up 6, second down and 4. Riggins. And we'll have to see where they spot it. Lyle Alzado. And on the tackle along with Rod Martin. Alzado set out the second half last week in Denver because of a bad leg. And Lyle with his first tackle of the second half here, but Riggins picked it up.
I do not think you'll be seeing him sitting out this one unless something reoccurs to his knee. He said it wasn't serious, but it did bother him. The game was well in hand. I think that when you take a look at Riggins' yard per carry average, it can be very misleading. It forgets to include those second down and 2s that he always picks up, third down and 1s. He's got about 4 of those a game, and he's still over 4 yards an average today.
There's Theismann off the fake. Don Warren inside the 15. So Warren, the tight end in his 5th season out of San Diego State, with his first catch of the day.
But I tell you, if there was ever a gimme, he just got one. And that ought to be given partly to Riggins. You ought to give about half of that yardage to Riggins if you really care about stats. They finally got the linebackers to concern themselves with Riggins. Warren goes on a slide block, runs right by Otis McKinney, who was trying to stop Riggins. Catches the ball on the dead run from Theismann. And I mean to tell you, he was an awful lot farther open than it looked like in your monitor.
33 yards on the play, first down at the 14. Again, the play action. This is Charlie Brown, and it goes nowhere. Lester Hayes right there.
Hey, they're trying Lester today. This isn't the usual jubilant Lester that sits back there and intimidates people and entices them to try him. These fellas are having a go at his area, and they're doing it effectively. I guess it goes, you talk about, some people say hit the weakness, others say hit the strength. I'm saying you can't hardly beat a real good football team unless you can beat their corners. And the Redskins match up very well against the Raiders.
Lester Hayes, Ted Watts are the men at the corners, Mike Davis and Van McElroy, the other members of that secondary. Theismann is now 9 for 16, 144 yards. Lost 2 on that last toss, 2nd and 12 at the 16. 4 minutes gone by, third quarter. Redskins lead it 17-7. Joe Washington.
Y'all be careful out there. Now you see Art Monk.
So Art Monk, who has made his return here today, he is the reigning member of the Fun Bunch, but not having fun here with the Raiders.
An important decision right here. Who's this penalty on? Is it against both of them again? Mike Davis and Monk. It looks like a no penalty.
It's a tough call to make, and Pat Haggerty has been handling it by calling offsetting penalties, which means often you disregard who starts it, and the only way one club will get penalized is if the other guy steps away, and that's a tough thing to do.
Well, I think what's happening right here, Marv, is that you don't call it if you don't see it. And I don't think anybody saw the initial contact. What they see is the reaction. They see two guys going at one another after the play's dead, and they didn't see the start, so they didn't call it. And that's a good decision.
All right, 3rd down and 9 at the 13. And Weisman is hauled out, but a flag thrown. Rick Townsend getting to the quarterback, but a penalty marker is down.
Face mask, and I think they're in discussion. Millen is livid. That play was called from over there by the head linesman, and they said that Townsend grabbed a hold of his face mask, and Greg is not agreeing with it, and it did not look to me like he did either.
And look out, Matt Millen just tossed his helmet. He could get an unsportsmanlike conduct unless the official did not see it or chose not to see it. So it is a face mask on the Raiders.
Haggerty could have overruled him, but he didn't see it clearly enough to make sure, so he let the rule stand. The call, and I guess that's what happened. He was a lot closer than I was.
So a 3rd down and 9 at the 13. Again, the shifting around in the formation by the Redskins. And Theismann has it deflected. And the fans wanted interference.
Well, the reason they do is because they saw Rod Martin jump all over Joe Washington. But once the ball's touched by a defender, that baby is fair game. Anybody can do whatever they want to get it.
And so Mark Mosley.
Look at Joe.
Check in.
Now, what you do is a lot of times you forget the rule, and in the heat of battle you say, hey, he was all over the top of him. Right. But the ball was deflected.
All right, Mosley is missed from 36 and hit from 28. This a 30-yard attempt. And Mosley has extended that Redskin lead. 5.5 gone by. 3rd quarter. Redskins now lead the Raiders by the score of 20-7. From RFK in Washington, and the Redskins off the 30-yard field goal by Mark Mosley now lead the Raiders by the score of 20-7. Greg Pruitt out to the 10. 20. So Pruitt to the 22. John, let's go back to that face mask call against Greg Townsend of the Raiders, and let's check it out.
It looked like it might be a critical call. However, it turned out to be, it would have made it just a little bbit longer field goal. But you see, Townsend has got a hold of his jersey very firmly. Haggerty did not make the call. The call came from over by the head linesman area. He didn't see it as clearly as he thought he did. But we have a chance to see it twice. They don't.
Yeah, he was screened out, and it appeared from that angle as if it were a face mask. 21-yard return on the kickoff by Pruitt. Play action for Plunkett. And he has the tight end, Christensen. Curtis Jordan, strong safety, outside linebacker, Rich Malott on the stop. So Todd Christensen, who has had a quiet game, Plunkett has had difficulty finding him with the reception.
He got off the donut. That's the big thing as far as he's concerned. And once the man catches one ball, the ice is broken. Sometimes he can find a few areas. Todd's been pretty well held in check the last couple of games after starting out very fast.
Barnwell and Muhammad are the wide receivers. And this is Muhammad for the first down and more. And he coughs it up. Recovered by the Redskins, Curtis Jordan. It's another Raider turnover.
Well, everything that can go wrong if you're a Raider fan is doing so. Very fine reception by Muhammad. He's trying to break loose. He does. Jordan and the rookie, Darrell Green, he is responsible for the fumble. Curtis Jordan picked that ball up very cleanly for it to be a fumble recovery. His second great play of the day. I know he just fell on the ball. It hurt a little bit, but he'll take it anytime.
It went 33 yards and then coughed it up, stripped by Green, recovered by Jordan. Washington taking over, and Art Monk with another beautiful reception. James Davis on the tackle. Davis has come over to take the right cornerback slot for Ted Watts, who's out for the day because of a sprained neck.
Well, a lot of things happen when people start throwing the ball in your area. Watts and Lester Hayes have had it pretty much going their way the first few weeks. Today, they're getting their share of the work.
First down at the 47 as Art Monk made the nice catch. Theismann throwing at a crowd intended for Don Warren.
That's the kind of ball Joe Theismann threw early in his career that you don't see him throw very much anymore. Looked like one of those trying to make a great play out of a bad play. Got a good pass rush. As soon as he let that ball go, he knew he'd done the wrong thing.
Joe Theismann now 10 for 19, 162 yards. Had almost a flawless day last week against Seattle.
Well, he's become an outstanding quarterback. There's no doubt about it. And if they don't do something to change defensively, the Raiders, they're putting Art Monk on James Davis. That's a mismatch.
All right, Riggins on the carry, stopped by Kinlaw. For an update, let's get back to New York to NFL 83.
Thank you, Marv. Moments ago in Pittsburgh, Watts clipped out from his own 49 on the run. Chased out to the far side, and he throws on the run to Walter Abercrombie, 51 yards. The Steelers regain the lead. Back to Washington.
Thank you, Len. Third down and 6 for the Redskins. At midfield, 8 minutes left, third quarter. And Theismann going sideline. Nick Giacquino well covered by Otis McKinney. So the punting unit making its way on. Jeff Hayes back at his 35-yard line. There he is with Greg Pruitt, the man he'll be kicking to. Hayes struggled at times last season. In fact, heard it from the crowd here at RFK, but the Redskins feel that he's a guy who will be around for some time.
He punts high, and I think anybody that can kick the ball high can help, particularly with the new rules, because it allows his two outside people to get down under the punt. And you'll notice here, his leg goes up in the air, and so does that ball.
And a good one. Now Pruitt, off the spin, stopped at the 16-yard line. Again, very fine coverage by the Redskins.
Ball kicked high enough in the air to let everybody get down underneath it. These special teams for the Redskins are something special.
For the Bears doing it to the Broncos, 24-0. Third quarter, Minnesota over Dallas, 24-10. Steve Dills having a good day. Houston leading Pittsburgh 14-7 in the fourth quarter. Big surprise there. Seattle over Cleveland 10-3 in the third. First and 10 back at the 17 as the Raiders take over. Play action for Plunkett. Oh, nice catch by Todd Christensen in front of Mark Murphy, the free safety. So Christensen with the long gainer. And the Raiders have a first down at the Washington 42-yard line, a 42-yard pass play.
Well, everybody in the house knows we have to come to one of our best players, one of our big playmakers in a critical situation. So we've got Todd Christensen getting one-on-one with Curtis Jordan. Plunkett's going to need a little extra time to get the ball to him, rolls out to his right, hits him on the dead run, and they've made their first big play in the second half.
And when you say we, you talk from the quarterback point of view. This is Frank Hawkins.
I didn't mean the Oakland Raiders or the Los Angeles Raiders. I meant,
yes.
I mean everybody in the house watching the ball game.
Okay. Got some letters from the Washington area. John. Hawkins carrying for 6, second down and 4 at the 36-yard line.
You know, the funny thing is, as a quarterback, you do catch yourself rooting for both offenses. And I'm sure the defensive analysts root the same way on the other side of the ball. But anytime I see a quarterback and receiver do something good, I like it.
You're just a diplomatic guy.
I guess so.
6.5 left, third quarter. And Plunkett gunning it down. Calvin Muhammad, touchdown! Calvin Muhammad with a spectacular catch.
You said that right. Can you believe, Marv, that right now, if they kick the extra point, that the Raiders are within a touchdown of winning this ball game as much as they've been blown off the field? The crowd has come to a total silence, and if you just take a look, you realize where we're playing. Jim Plunkett, a 99-yarder for the 1 score. Now he moves a little bit this way. 2 plays. They come from way down in their own territory. The second fine reception by Calvin Muhammad, his first chance to really do some playing. And I tell you, that was beyond the call, that catch.
First touchdown of the season. Calvin Muhammad, second year out of Texas Southern. And now Chris Barr splits it through. And the Redskins, although overwhelming the Raiders, completely outplaying the Raiders, can only show a 6-point lead. Washington 20. And the Los Angeles Raiders 14, and this crowd is stunned. In Washington, D.C., this is Marv Albert along with John Brodie. Chris Barr getting set to kick off. Jim Plunkett has done it with a big play, 36 yards to Muhammad, 99 yards to Branch, and the Raiders now trail 20-14. Mike Nelms on the return. And the Raider kickoff coverage has been excellent. And again, some words following the tackle. Rick Burns stopping Nelms, who is always dangerous.
You know, you can do some things at home, Marv, that you can't do on the road. You can control the tempo and the flow of the game a lot. I just noticed the loudspeaking system just mentioned that Dallas was behind by 14 in their ball game, and this crowd finally came to life again. Those things mean something.
So you're saying get to the public address man.
Well,
if you're at home.
No, that's okay. It's fair at home. That's what he ought to do. I'm just saying that they know that they've got to do something to lift their group, and they couldn't have come up with a better suggestion.
All right, the penalty called on the Redskins.
What was that one?
Before they get to the public address man, they should get to the audio on the field. Now, there's Calvin Muhammad coming up with his first touchdown reception of the season. And Washington, 1st and 10, back at their 9-yard line. 6:19 left, third quarter. He's following Brown across the field. Riggins. And they play him well. A loss on the play. Otis McKinney all over John Riggins.
Couple big plays have a big effect on a tired defense. You saw the Redskins doing just about what they wanted on the drive right before they kicked off. Now here's Alzado. I tell you how much they respect him. They've got both Warren and Jacoby trying to handle him. That's a man that's shown you he can play. When they look at those films, they say, how are we going to keep Alzado out of the action? I'll tell you, put 2 of us on him. They did, but you can't cover everybody.
Loss of 2. 2nd and 12, back at the 7. Joe Washington gets back to the 10-yard line. A penalty flag thrown over at the far side. This is an important series for the Raider defense. Lyle Alzado in the discussion. And here's the referee, Pat Haggerty.
Charlie Sumner, you can just feel the intensity level pick up as Willie Brown, who was the other fellow in the white shirt, he's the man that handles the defensive secondary. This call was against the Redskins. They're telling him to...
Yeah, the encroachment on the defense. Also, number 44 went off the field in the opposite direction. He went around the field. He cannot do that at 5 yards.
Wow, that's
I know who 44 is, too. No, you can't do that. John Riggins, I'm sure. Well, he's not... Maybe he's just trying to tell him he doesn't want to come off the field. Anyway, once you get caught out there, it was probably a late substitution. He tried to sneak off. He got caught.
Well, Denver on the board now. Chicago leading at 24-7. In the third, Minnesota in front of Dallas, 24-13. So we are back to a 2nd and 12 at the 7. Washington.
That's why they give Rod Martin the credentials they do. He's sitting one-on-one with Joe Washington. They picked the right place to throw the ball to the right guy. Joe Washington one-on-one, and number 53 brings him down with a one-on-one tackle. Now, that's something that not many linebackers can do.
And it sets up a 3rd down and 5 at the 14, a 7-yard pickup. There's Rod Martin, 7th season out of USC. Crowd urging the Redskins on. They lead it 20-14. And Theismann airs it up. Broken up by Otis McKinney, stepping in front of Charlie Brown, and McKinney nearly picked it off. But a very good series for the Raider defensive unit.
Yes, it was. And it's, you know, they never changed their style, the Raiders. And I was mentioning Willie Brown earlier. He was the first really great defensive back that the Raiders had. He's the one that kind of dictated that, hey, defensively, if you're a Raider, you're going to have to play one-on-one defense. They've been beaten early in the game. Now they're seeming to rally. They're starting to get closer to the receivers. They're picking up the slack.
And here's Jeff Hayes, and he is back in his end zone. Greg Pruitt out at his 45. Pruitt. Short return by Pruitt. Mark Murphy on the tackle, and the Raiders take over at midfield. 4.5 remaining third quarter. 37-yard punt, 5-yard return. When we return, it'll be the Raiders to the offense.
Good. Allegre pulls the Colts within 4. Back to Washington.
That's an impressive streak for a linebacker. Ted Hendricks, as we mentioned earlier, has the longest such streak for consecutive games among active players in the NFL.
Well, you know, to play 204 games, you know you're going to be there somewhere because it takes you about 15 years to be able to get that close. And this is not just another day at the plant.
First down at the 47-yard line of the Redskins. Hawkins and King, the running backs. And Plunkett to throw. First down, looking for Barnwell. Very good recovery by Darrell Green. It looked like Barnwell beat him.
Barnwell did beat him, but what he didn't do is when the ball was underthrown a little, he didn't go back through Green to create interference. He tried to let the ball come back to him. Watch Plunkett. He knows, hey, if we're going to win this ball game, we've got to beat them at the corner. But you see Barnwell, he just kind of stays there and waits on the ball. Then Green gets a chance to go at it too. But if he'd come back toward it, he'd have created interference.
2nd and 10. Barnwell at the bottom of your screen and Muhammad at the top. And a timeout called by the Redskins. Free safety Mark Murphy looking to talk things over.
Well, he's a little concerned. They've thrown the ball down the field 4 or 5 times. Generally, a free safety of Mark's caliber will be able to get in the act a little more than he's been able to lately. And he might feel that he'd like to change some of the defensive thought or find out a little more about what the thinking is.
So the timeout called by the Redskins with 4:22 left in the third quarter. Next Saturday, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, NBC's Sports World returns for the schedule. And Marvin Hagler, as you know, is still the middleweight champion.
Yes.
2nd down and 10. Jim Plunkett, who was 13 for 24, 2 touchdowns last week against Denver. This is Frank Hawkins. Hawkins to the 40, met by Rich Malott. It's Liebenstein, Butts, Grant, and Manley up front for the Redskins. Kaufman, Okowitz, Malott, the linebackers. Green, Jordan, Murphy, and Dean are in the secondary.
Plunkett's one of the few who is still calling his own plays as a quarterback, and I find that to be an excellent call. 2nd down and 10, because they're going to use 4 downs to make it anyway, in all probability. He's now got 3rd down and 3. They very well could run this ball, too.
Kenny King. So King collecting the 1st down. Marcus Allen sitting it out for the entire game. He is out with a bruised hip, was called a question mark before the game, but has not played.
That's right, and it is upon Kenny King to pick up the ground attack, and he's doing so here. But what I like is when you are calling your own plays, as Plunkett is, he knows that on 4th down we're going to be having a go at it. I've got 3 downs to pick up the 1st. Marcus is rooting. He's talking to Art Shell, the great offensive tackle who's now a lineman coach for the Raiders. And they're getting enthused again. They've been blown out of the park. Now they've got a chance to get back.
1st down at the 37. And Plunkett fires for Barnwell. And again, the recovery by Green to knock it away.
That's great play. And he's a fella, he's a rookie. How many rookies have you seen? A lot of them, who just defy you to beat them. He's a defensive cornerback. All those fellas think they're faster than everybody, better than everybody, tougher than everybody, stronger than everybody, more valuable. He's one of the few guys that backs it up. Sonny Jurgensen asked him, he said, how fast do you run? He said, I don't know, 4.1, 4.2, but you know, he says, you're talking about a different class of speed. He says, nobody can beat me.
He was world class in college at Texas A&I. 2nd down and 10. Calvin Muhammad for the 1st down. Vernon Dean on the tackle, and what a 2nd half it's been for Muhammad.
Well, what are we saying? Earlier in the ball game, we said, okay, Vernon Dean made the Pro Bowl last year in All-Pro because he played the outside real tough. Most quarterbacks like to throw the ball to the outside. He led you astray. He led you believe he was taking away the inside, but in effect, he was really moving to the outside. You can beat him on the inside. People have done it this year, and Plunkett's doing it now.
16-yard gain. Now Greg Pruitt in the backfield alongside Frank Hawkins, but Plunkett to throw again, looking for Pruitt. Pruitt covered by the middle linebacker, Neil Okowitz.
Neil Okowitz moves around real well in that middle. We haven't heard a lot of him today because they haven't tried to run the ball in the middle on the Redskins. We mentioned Butts and Grant make it very tough for anybody to move the ball in that area. And they keep people off of Okowitz. That time he was one-on-one with Greg Pruitt, did his job all the way down the field. Remember, we still got a quarter plus this 2:05.
The big number in that stat line, alongside the name Jim Plunkett, 3 interceptions. All in the 1st quarter. 2nd and 10. Looking for Muhammad. Touchdown. Calvin Muhammad again. And the Raiders have tied it at 20.
If you don't mind my saying, this is the sort of play in a big game that just changes the starting lineup. I don't care who it is he's going to be playing in front of. He's going to have to be doing an awful lot of playing. The Raiders like to go deep. They've got a man in Calvin Muhammad that can do it for you. He is in a one-on-one situation. Take a look. He's a crisscrossing pattern man. The 2 defenders run into each other all over the field. It's Coffey trying to handle Muhammad. He can't do it. When the ball's thrown, Muhammad makes another great catch. His 2nd reception of the day for a touchdown, and the Raiders can go ahead with this.
Mark Wilson puts it down for Chris Farr, and the Raiders have moved in front. So the Raiders have come from behind, although completely outplayed throughout the 1st half, and they now lead the Redskins 21-20. A 22-yard touchdown pass play with that man, number 82, Calvin Muhammad, who is seeing action because of the hamstring injury suffered by Cliff Branch. Now here's the crowd looking to rev up the Redskins.
I'll tell you what I'm looking at. I'm looking at Calvin Muhammad. Now he's on the special teams, the kickoff team, after catching a touchdown pass. I think they're going to have to use a lot of him for the rest of the day. I might try to get him over on the sideline. One more look at this touchdown. It's another individual great effort. Plunkett has taken it upon himself to get this game back in the hat. He's done so with real stand-up, tough play. He's taken a group that really is without their two big stars and put them right back in the thick of things.
And the kickoff by Barr. Mike Nelms off the good kick. Good return by Nelms out near the 30, and guess who on the tackle? Calvin Muhammad.
That's incredible. Hey, you know, I was talking to their special teams coach. They were sitting discussing how good a player he is on special teams, that, you know, we'd like to use him. We don't think we're going to drop a lot when he's in there. Drop a lot. He's made 3 outstanding receptions, fumbled the first one, and then has made 2 great receptions. This man, they know will do it if you give him enough chances. Mike Nelms from Canada, picked up as a free agent. Been in the Pro Bowl several years now. They've got to do something more than that.
32-yard return by Nelms. Good rush by Alzado, but a beautiful reception. Charlie Brown for the first down and much more. James Davis wrestled him out. Theismann looking in the face of Alzado.
That's okay. And we're taking a look at just a fine kickoff return, but this is the play that deserves the merit. Theismann stood there, threw it off his back foot. It's all the time he had. Hit Brown on the dead run. We mentioned he's going to have to do something a little more exciting than the kickoff return team, but he did it quick.
Our 34-yard pass play. Brown's 5th catch of the day. First down at the Raider 37. Minute and a half left in what has been a terrific third quarter. Riggins fumbled and recovered by the Raiders. Brett Townsend on the recovery. So that is the first fumble loss by the Washington Redskins since the New Orleans game last year, and 600 and change in terms of the streak, which we'll be able to focus in on a moment. But John Riggins finally losing a fumble.
And you see, you just have a game between a bunch of money men. The young fella that's been playing so well all year long, Greg Townsend, strips the ball from Riggins. Everybody knows you're trying to hold on tight, but these fellas are trying just as hard to knock it loose. Townsend does. The Raiders have the ball. That's just a great defensive play.
Raiders first down at their 35. Hawkins picked up 2 and was thrown back by Olkowitz. Neil Olkowitz, small, not fast, but always hustles, and a leader, sets the tone for the Washington defense in his 5th season out of Maryland.
You know, what do we do whenever the ball game's tight? We go back to the first quarter to discuss a missed field goal somewhere. I'm sure that Mosley may be thinking of it, but he shouldn't be, because the ball game changes with every score. The strategy changes, and one missed field goal early never dictates the outcome of a ball game.
Second down and 8. Down to 40 seconds to go, third quarter. Plunkett after standing in right near the first down marker.
He's got his feet over, but I don't know if the ball made it.
Rich Ballard on the cover-up tackle.
It did. Where they marked it, that ball is good for a first down. Jim Plunkett knows he's going to need more points today, and he's the man that's going to get them for them if they're going to. He gets out of the rush, and they are rushing him pretty well. His offensive line has done an adequate job, but he's had a lot of times when he had to scramble. He picks up the first down, keeps the drive alive.
And the indication that the Raiders have picked it up. Los Angeles Raiders at 4-0. They beat the Broncos in Denver last week, a methodical 22-7 win, preceded by victories over Miami, Houston, and Cincinnati. Raiders had allowed only 37 points in 3 games coming into today, but the Redskins were able to wash away the superb defensive play of the Raiders in the first half as they got right on the scoreboard, and now the Raiders have been able to regroup and have gotten right back in it. Time is running down in the third quarter. And that is the end of the third quarter. With the score, the LA Raiders 21, Washington Redskins 20. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Brought to you by Jeep Cherokee and Jeep Wagoneer. When it comes to four-wheel drive, one word says it all. Jeep. By AT&T Information Systems. And by a tool for modern times, the IBM Personal Computer. First down at the 46-yard line for Jim Plunkett. Intended for Malcolm Barnwell as we get underway in the fourth quarter. And that is the streak that was ended by the fumble by John Riggins. 685 consecutive offensive plays. Incredible strength.
He's a very strong individual, and to get the ball away from him, you have to surprise him, and that's what Townsend did when he created the fumble. And you know, some guys when they fumble don't recover their own. John Riggins has fumbled a few times, but he's always so quick to get on anything that happens that he's always come up with it. So that was a rare one.
Second down 10. Hawkins. Frank Hawkins ripping off the first down into Washington territory at the 40-yard line. This telecast presented by authority of the National Football League, and it is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Washington Redskins and the National Football League is prohibited. Hawkins with a 16-yard pickup, and he's had a good second half. 64 yards now, 12 carries for Frank Hawkins. The intended receiver was Barnwell, dragged down. It was covered by Green.
Okay, I guess you have to take what they call, but, you know, they say incidental contact is no foul, right? I cannot see where Darrell Green was doing anything other than trying to get a hand on the ball, and I don't know whether he went through Malcolm Barnwell or not, but that looked like incidental contact to me, and I'm sure the people at home feel the same way.
But on the interference call, it's a first down for the Raiders.
Marv, how long has it been since we've seen a game where both sides are trying to throw outside to their cornerback? It's because not too many teams play you man-to-man defense all over the field.
And Plunkett in trouble, gets it off to King. Nice move by King after the reception. Kenny King in his 5th season out of Oklahoma. He made the Pro Bowl back in 1981, but the addition of Marcus Allen to the Raider roster made for a move to the fullback slot.
He made the Pro Bowl coming from a team. He came from Houston originally, where he was a 3rd draft choice, and he hadn't really been given a chance to play. Went to the Raiders. They've used him extensively since, and he's been a fine back for them.
Second down and 1. Frank Hawkins looking for the first down. Rich Malott among several Washington defenders, and it is a first down picked up by Hawkins. Raiders first down just inside the 15-yard line. They've come from behind to lead the Redskins by 1. There's a final. Pittsburgh coming from behind, and they knock off Houston.
Well, it just keeps getting worse if you're an Oiler.
Houston Oilers now 0-5. Hawkins peeling off. This is Pruitt throwing. So Greg Pruitt on the option, trying to hit the tight end, Todd Christensen. Jordan and Murphy on the coverage.
Good alert defensive secondary play. Now, not too many people generally expect Greg Pruitt to make a kind of throw like this, as we see Todd Christensen going down the field. Curtis Jordan is all over Christensen. The other 2 defensive secondary people are all over him also. Kaufman making the force 55 on Pruitt, but you can see that ball was not going to be completed.
2.5 minutes gone by. We're fourth quarter. Sellout crowd in Washington. And the Raiders 2nd and 10 the 15. Plunkett drilling. Christensen inside the 5 for the first down. Curtis Jordan on the stop.
You just can't say too much about Jim Plunkett. He's hung in there in the throes of adversity, and now he seems to have turned this thing around on his arm. Their defense has hung in there, and now he's right down on the 2-yard line, threatening to go up by more than a touchdown. And I mean, it's not an easy thing away from home to play that way when your 2 stars are out of the ball game. He has been the sort of fellow that's let George do it all year long, and now he's doing it himself.
12-yard pass play, first and goal at the 2. Pruitt in motion. And it's a touchdown for the Raiders. Todd Christensen with the score. He was hit out of the end zone, but the Raiders on the board again. And they lead it 27-20.
Marv, we're about to see a lot more football. You can bet that Joe Theismann will be throwing that ball from corner to corner as soon as they get it back. But it's the comeback of Jim Plunkett and the Raider offense that really sticks in your mind now.
And Chris Farr adds to the lead. So Christensen with his 4th catch of the day, 61 yards in all, his first touchdown to give the Raiders a 28-20 lead. 11 minutes, 50 seconds left, 4th quarter.
And I just think you're going to see them all right now.
9 plays, 65 yards, 4.5 minutes for the drive to lead to the touchdown. Elms not able to get to it, and they'll kick it again. So both clubs are moving back upfield. Recapping the scoring, it was Riggins, 2-yard run. Early first quarter off the interception by the strong safety, Curtis Jordan. Mosley missed the field goal from 36 yards, then hit from 28 to make it 10-0. Plunkett to Branch for 99 yards. Turns out to be the longest touchdown pass in the NFL in 15 years. You'd have to go back to 1968 when Sonny Jurgensen hooked up with Jerry Allen.
He's hooked up with a lot of players, but I think Jerry Allen was the least known. Boy, they had some studs. When you talk about Bobby Mitchell and Charlie Taylor, who's now a coach, and Jerry Smith, they had the great ones.
And then it was Theismann of Joe Washington making it 17-7 for the Skins. Mosley, a 30-yard field goal, extended it to 20-7. And then the Jim Plunkett, Calvin Muhammad show. 36 yards to cut it to 20-14, and then a 22-yard touchdown pass play for a 21-20 Raider lead. And a moment ago, Plunkett and the tight end Todd Christensen to give the LA Raiders a 28-20 lead.
There have been a lot of penalties too, Marv, but at least they've evened out.
By Reggie Evans, an up man. Off the spin, but stopped inside the 20-yard line. Evans, a first-year player out of Richmond who spent all of last year on injured reserve. Stopped by Jeff Barnes. All right, here's Barnes, 56.
This linebacker has been with his club for the past 4 or 5 years, and he plays pretty good defense, but he plays excellent special teams. He comes down there, gets right through the wedge, and stops the ball carrier before he gets to the 20-yard line with a 5-yard penalty. That's a superb play.
7-yard return by Evans. First down at the 18. Play action for Theismann. Rifling it. Charlie Brown out to the 34-yard line.
You know, it's one thing if you're sitting at home and you say, hey, they know they're going to throw it to the wide receivers. Why don't they do something defensively? Well, as long as you play man-to-man defense, and that's the personality and the trademark of the Raiders, they're not going to change that. It's up to James Davis to do something about it as a cornerback. They're going to leave him one-on-one all day long.
16-yard pass play, first down out at the 35-yard line. That's Brown in motion. Short setup. Brown again. Brown to the 42-yard line.
It isn't much of a secret. It's how do you stop them?
Well, they spot it at the 43. It'll be second at about 1.
The other side of the field, Lester Hayes. He's sitting there with Art Monk. They're having another one-on-one battle. You can see, if you have your druthers, you don't generally pick on Lester Hayes. Sometimes you must. But if you have a rookie, pick on him.
John Riggins. He slipped and close to the marker, Ted Hendricks covering him up. Charlie Brown has an unusual sliding running style. Very tough for cornerbacks to judge his speed.
Yeah.
And he has been a big play man for the Redskins. Riggins now 81 yards, 23 carries. Got off quickly in the first half.
Well, they're not in a position right now where they're going to, I'm not saying they won't use a lot of Riggins, but they won't feature him. They have to get a touchdown and a field goal at least in order to win the ball game. And with 9 minutes to go, you don't have time to drive down the football field at your own leisure.
And as you saw, just short of a first down. Third down and inches. 9.5 left, fourth quarter. Riggins, first down and more. Ted Hendricks on the tackle.
You take a look at the Hogs. They can move people out in short yardage situations. John Riggins is not contacted until he moves 4 or 5 yards down the field, and then by Ted Hendricks.
And John picked up 6. Jacoby, Grimm, Bostic, May, and Stark up front. That's Monk in motion. Riggins. And Rod Martin able to stack him up. Atlanta leading Philadelphia in the fourth quarter, 24-21. Wow, Green Bay over Tampa Bay, 55-14.
They'd like to break those up into about 3 20-point games, I think.
They were held in check by the Giants on Monday. 91 yards, 26 carries for Riggins. Second down, 6. Picked off. Lester Hayes had a shot, and that was thrown way off the mark. The intended receiver, I presume, was Art Monk.
Well, it looks like it was thrown off the mark, Marv. But if you take a look at Art Monk, when that ball was thrown and he made his turn, he looked back into the quarterback's area and didn't see that Theismann had already thrown it, and Theismann intended for him to keep going across the field. Now Joe's got another one-on-one situation, hangs in there. Now, you see, Art kind of pulled up, and now he wonders, uh-oh, maybe I did the wrong thing, but he couldn't locate the ball.
Monk to the left and Garrett right for this third down and 6. Penalty flag throw. Now Monk on the reception. And a first down if it stands up. Out near the 25-yard line, James Davis hauling Monk down. But let's see what the call is all about.
Most frustrating thing in the world for a quarterback and an offensive team that knows it has to get on that scoreboard to get called for offensive holding after you've made a big play on a third down situation.
And here's Pat Haggerty as he brings it back.
Number 53, offense.
It's the center, Jeff Bostic. 4-year man out of Clemson called for the hold. And it's now a third down and 16 back at the 43. Virgil C., top of your picture. And Alvin Garrett on the other side. Alzado and Townsend chase. And broken up. Let's see, did the linebacker come up with it? Mike Davis broke it up. No, it is incomplete.
I saw the official rule very quickly, so he saw the play the whole way. Rod Martin might have a few things to say. Made a good try, but Jim Poole, the official, was in a perfect place to make the call. Theismann coming out of the pocket, trying to buy a little time. Greg Thompson is right on his heels, though.
And this is Jeff Hayes getting set to punt for the 7th time. Greg Pruitt back at his 16-yard line. Jim Plunkett and Calvin Muhammad hooking up for 2 touchdowns, and that's been the story in the second half. Pruitt unleashing. That's the punter, Hayes, missing. And here's Pruitt, who could go left all the way. Greg Pruitt doing something that is rarely done against the Redskins special team, and that is he has scored a touchdown.
He made a decision, Marv, that I think most coaches would scold. Late in the ball game with an 8-point lead, he elected to catch the ball on the 4-yard line and try to run it out of there. How many times have you heard anything inside the 10, let it go in the end zone? He saw enough territory to give himself a little free running room, elected to catch the ball, and boy, when he made that break right in there, he made a break against the best special team play in the game. He gets around Jeff Hayes, and from there on in, it's nothing but a cakewalk. Talk about a drastic turnaround.
It is being recorded as a 97-yard punt return. And the Raiders have broken it open. Chris Farr looking to make it 35-10, and does. And again, silence from 55,000 here at RFK. The Los Angeles Raiders leading the Washington Redskins by 15. With help, but a flag is down. Wide open football.
Yeah, it's holding, though, against the Redskins. That puts them right back in a hole. They're complaining, but Haggerty made the call very early.
Seven minutes, 17 seconds remaining, fourth quarter. The Redskins in need of a big play, trailing 35-20.
And people have stated so long how good Mike Nelms is at making the big play. He's made 2 of them today. Both of them,
Number 30 on the run back,
have been called back.
Nick Giaquinto called for the hold.
All right, you see, they're trying to get some sort of a little crack at the point of attack. They get a good enough block, but most of it's on Nelms. He just gets them separated, picks up a little bit of running room, and Barr makes a pretty good play to keep it from being larger.
Charlie Brown to the right, first down, 1st and 10 at the 12-yard line. And that's Garrett moving to the left. Theismann looking Garrett's way, now goes the other. Joe Washington. Washington to the 30. Washington unleashing. Lester Hayes pushed him out, and here are the Redskins, first down at the 21.
You don't make that kind of play unless your offense thinks you have a chance to win the ball game. He got great blocks from his wide receivers, 2 of them that time. Theismann looks to the other side, waits for the last possible second, comes off. Good coordination with Bostic and May. They pick up their blocks at the point of attack, and here goes Joe, getting good help from Charlie Brown, number 87. When your wide receivers still think you have a chance, they're going to help your running backs. You get plays like this, and you can get yourself back in it.
Joe Washington going 67 yards before that man, Lester Hayes, pushed him out. In his 8th season out of Oklahoma, 2 years with San Diego, 3 with Baltimore, and now a Redskin. First down at the 21 of the Raiders. Play action. Theismann off the roll and batted down. Otis McKinney got a piece of it. Check of the scoreboard. Baltimore over Cincinnati, 34-31. That's the final score.
Baltimore 3-2.
And Dallas leading Minnesota in the fourth, 34-24.
Boy, we were away a while, and they just... Sounds like Minnesota went away, too.
Just under 7 minutes left, fourth quarter here. Marv Albert with John Brodie. And what has turned into a big play duel between the Redskins and the Raiders. The tight end, John Warren. Close to the first down. McKinney on the tackle. Coming up next, San Diego Chargers and the Giants, or in some areas, the Miami Dolphins and the New Orleans Saints from the Superdome in New Orleans. So stay right here for a full day of football here on NBC.
Taking a look at Joe Bugle, the offensive coordinator, on the right-hand side of your screen. He was the same at Houston when they were playing real good football, and he had Earl Campbell his first 3 years. So you can see the type of attack he employs, and it's very effective.
And the Redskins have picked up the first down. Clock running, 6.5 left, fourth quarter. Raiders with a second half surge, leading at 35-20. First down at the 11. That's Giaquinto in motion. Touchdown! So Theismann right back, combining with Charlie Brown, who did it in the face of James Davis. An 11-yard pass play, and now
we see Steve Ortmeyer sitting there discussing whether or not we run it back out of the end zone, and letting everybody know that this ball game is far from over. If it only takes you a minute to get the ball from your own 20-yard line all the way into the opponent's end zone, you've got 6 of those left. We've got some ball game left.
And Mark Mosley putting it through, following Charlie Brown's 4th touchdown of the season. There's the second-year man from South Carolina State. We have 6 minutes, 15 seconds left, fourth quarter. Raiders 35, Redskins 27. Drive, 4 plays, 88 yards, concluding with the 11-yard pass from Theismann to Brown, and it's a 35-27 Raider lead with 6:15 left, fourth quarter.
Onside kick team.
And they have Greg Pruitt up as a short man.
And it looked to me like the Redskins got it.
Yes, they did. Pruitt tried to chase it down, could not get near it, and the Redskins have recovered. Greg Williams not looking to give up that football that he came up with.
They're going to let him keep this one because an excellent onside kick by Jeff Hayes. He bats the ball as hard as he can right at the front man. When it hit him, it caroomed into no area at all. And Calvin Sweeney could not come up with the ball. Number 47, second-year man, Greg Williams comes up with it. The Redskins have it in Raider territory, 1st and 10 on the 32.
And the crowd quiets for Theismann. That's Monk in motion. John Warren for a Redskin first down.
Marv, the plays I'm watching are so well designed. They need a little time. When they do, they get 2 tight ends to block down, let Joe roll out one way, use the other tight end against the flow, as they did Warren on that occasion. They've done it 3 or 4 times. They're doing it They're doing about all you can do offensively on both sides of the field.
24-yard gain. Warren with 4 catches, 84 yards. First down at the 13. And broken up. Otis McKinney on the coverage of Don Warren. That's McKinney in a 6th season out of Colorado.
And as you see, you saw the face of McKinney. You saw he's a little tired. And when you play defense, as long as these guys have had to play it in the last 10 minutes, you get a little tired. And offensively, you get a little enthused, and it makes it an awful lot easier to operate.
It's been a roller coaster ball game. Redskins with the early lead. There's McKinney.
He's puffing. You try to cover somebody one-on-one all over the field, you know the importance of letting somebody get by you. That adds to the fatigue.
Raiders coming back second half. Now the Redskins on the move. Big rush. And Theismann pulled down by Long. Howie Long with a significant sack with 5 minutes, 8 seconds left, 4th quarter.
Came from the outside on the right. And this is one thing that I'm sure Joe would like to have another attempt to try and handle, because he knows you can't get caught at this time in the ball game. Time is one thing. If they're under 5 minutes on the clock, the field position is everything.
That's the 4th sack for the Raiders. The Washington offensive line had not allowed a sack the previous 2 games. 3rd down and 28. Back at the 31. Washington. Joe Washington on the pickup, but way short.
Well, we've got a 4th down play. You say, okay, it's the coach's turn. Do you want to try and get something now, knowing your team needs another possession and a touchdown? That's what Joe Gibbs is going to do.
So Mark Mosley checking in. He's 2 for 3. He missed from 36 late in the 1st quarter and then connected from 28 yards and from 30.
This is not the time to try a fake field goal. The Raiders will not try and block this field goal.
34-yard attempt. And it is good. Minutes, 28 seconds remaining. 4th quarter. Raiders 35, Redskins 30. Hayes does here. He went for the onside approach last time, recovered by Washington.
I think they'll kick it down the field. I think he can get it back once. It was twice you couldn't get possession of, and maybe he'll go. I doubt it.
Oh, you pulled back right the first time, and this is Clea Montgomery. Raiders were looking for it again. They have Pruitt up as the short man, but a penalty flag is down.
I think it's a sound play. Now, generally the penalties are on the receiving team, which would put the Raiders in a very big hole, and this could be a critical penalty.
It is called against the Raiders. Jim Plunkett, the man who led the Raiders back. Raiders now lead it 35-30. 4 minutes and 18 seconds remaining, 4th quarter.
Okay, let's put it in your shoes. If you're sitting there where Plunkett is, do you try to get out of this hole right now, knowing that Washington's got everything going for them? Or do you say, okay, let's try and control the ball on the ground?
I go to the ground first.
All right, let's see what he does.
Plunkett and Calvin Muhammad bringing the Raiders from behind. And let's see what he does here. 1st and 10 at the 16. And the swarming defense of the Redskins all over Frank Hawkins. Darrell Grant leading the charge. Redskin defensive unit all revved up. Liebenstein, Buck, Grant, Manley, Up front, Kaufman, Olkowitz, Malott, the linebackers. Green and Dean at the corners. Jordan and Murphy are the safety men. Second down and about 8. He picked up 2.
Still playing man-to-man defense secondarily on the corners.
And again to the ground. And again, the Skins hold. Hawkins stopped by Murphy.
Turned out to be an excellent defensive call. A safety blitz. They've tried it on 2nd and 10 3 or 4 times. That's the first time it's really worked out for them. There must be a tendency where Oakland 2nd and 10 runs the ball an awful lot or throws the ball to the outside. And that's why you can safety blitz in that situation.
And it's a loss of 3. 3rd down, 11. Todd Christensen short of the first down. Try to get up and run. I believe he was ruled down. Ken Coffey covering.
This is what Todd thought he'd done. He thought he caught it and got off of this ground fast enough before he was touched. It was not ruled that way. They are short of the first down, and they'll have to punt.
So the Redskins, with a superb series defensively to hold the Raiders.
Here you go. You've got the best punt returner in the game. You've got the best punter that played the game in the last 50 years, maybe ever, and it couldn't be more critical.
Ray Guy back at his 10. 3-time Pro Bowler Mike Nelms at his 32-yard line. And now the 2-minute warning. So the timeout here at RFK. And when we return, it'll be Guy punting to Nelms. But right now, another one of those fantastic finishes with John Brodie. RFK Stadium in Washington. And the Raiders leading the Redskins 35-30. Ray Guy getting set to punt to Mike Nelms with 2 minutes left, 4th quarter.
And Marv, you know, I've heard crowds like this, but it's been in 120 and 30,000 seat stadiums. Wembley sounds like this. At this place, you can hardly hear yourself think.
And this is Nelms with terrific coverage by McKinney. Otis McKinney was right there. A 46-yard punt by Guy, but very little advance. There's the final. Chicago walloping Denver 31-14.
Dallas doing it again. Pittsburgh back on top. They're now 3-2 in their division. Seattle handed it to Cleveland. Brian Sipe probably had his first bad one. And look at the Niners.
San Francisco beating New England. Art Theismann going sideline. And we'll have to wait and see where they spot it. Charlie Brown on the reception again. And for Brown, his 9th catch of the day. It is just short of the first down. 1 minute and 27 remaining, 4th quarter. Raiders lead it 35-30. And again, Theismann completes the throw.
Marv, let's remember, there is 1:08 remaining. The Skins have 2 timeouts left. They cannot kick a field goal. They are 5 points behind. They have got to score a touchdown. They can't afford to have 2 balls caught in the field of play.
And a timeout has been called.
That gives them 1.
Right, Redskins down to 1. Raiders have 3. When we resume, it'll be Washington operating from the Los Angeles 34-yard line. First down at the 34 with 1 minute 8 remaining.
We're seeing today what happens when 2 offensive teams challenge defensive secondaries. Do not give the cornerbacks credit for being able to cover. Have good execution. good structure, and say, fellas, catch me if you can, but I don't think you can. And that's the way it's worked for both sides.
And we'd like to take the opportunity to thank some of the people who have made this telecast possible. The executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weissman, coordinating producer of football, Ted Nathanson. The telecast of today's game produced by Peter Rolfe, directed by John Gonzalez, technical director Jim Marshall, associate director Mike Heilbaum. First down play for Weissman. He has thrown. Charlie Brown at the 6, brought down by Kenny Hill, and the clock is running. We're down to 50 seconds remaining. Weissman.
He doesn't want to take a timeout. He's called another play in the huddle. He can catch the defense napping. He's going to force the Raiders to call timeout. Good play.
He was trying, as you say, to catch the defense. Not only not ready, but also upset about that last play.
Well, no. What he'd like to do is he wants to get the time, but he doesn't want to call his last time. So he gets on the ball quickly. He has his offense line up. It forces the Raiders, who are not ready to play right yet, to call one of their own. That's just heads-up football.
29-yard pass play. Charlie Brown again. Charlie Brown has had a magnificent day. 11 receptions, 181 yards. 43 seconds left. And the Redskins will have first and goal at the 6-yard line. Coming up next, the Giants and the Chargers, or in some areas, the Dolphins and the Saints. So stay right here on NBC for the second part of our NFL doubleheader. The Washington Redskins at one point led 20-7. Raiders came from behind. At one point, they led 35-20.
And that was with 7.5 minutes left.
First and goal at the 6 as Brown goes to the left. Weissman looking end zone. Overthrows Brown. He saw he was covered.
That's right.
James Davis. And Kenny Hill all over Charlie Brown.
Okay, the other side, we've got Lester Hayes. One-on-one, Monk's in motion to get Lester Hayes right off the top of him. That is a legal play. Monk was not alert enough to take a look at Hayes. That ball was not going in his direction anyway. He was trying to check out where it was thrown. Better not do that.
Weissman is 22 for 38, 411 yards. Second and goal at the 6. Looking Washington. Touchdown! Human explosion here at RFKN. Mark Mosley has given the Redskins a 37-35 lead with 33 seconds remaining. Fourth quarter.
Marv, you need to say so little in a ball game like this. Now, Theismann has just done about all a quarterback can be asked to do. He started out challenging the defense. This team has only given up 30 points defensively all year long. The Redskins have put 37 on the board. I'd say that's a pretty good day's work. With 7.5 minutes to play, they're 15 points down. A lot of people in these stands gave up. But you could tell on the very first ball possession, the Redskins hadn't. They threw a screen pass, got great blocking, came back, set up a score, and it's been their momentum ever since. It's carried them into the win column. And with 30 seconds left, it isn't over yet.
Well, Theismann throwing his third touchdown pass of the day. He threw 3 against Seattle last week. He's connected twice with Joe Washington. Washington's first touchdowns of the season. Redskins with a 37-35 lead. And here is Jeff Hayes. Red Pruitt. We're down to 28 seconds remaining, fourth quarter.
2 timeouts for the Raiders. That one play that Joe Theismann made to force the Raiders to call timeout could, in the end, be a very big strategic plus.
5 plays, 69 yards for that lead score. Stuart Anderson stopping Greg Pruitt on the 18-yard return, and Jim Plunkett has to go for it all. Tipped off. Vernon Dean has just ended the Raider hope. Vernon Dean, in his second year out of San Diego, has concluded it. We're down to 19 seconds, and the Redskins just have to sit on the football. 7th turnover by the Raiders that killed them in the first half, and now Dean picks it off from Plunkett.
You can see, if there's a prayer, let's throw it down to number 82, see if he can come up with it. This game is history. It's one of the best offensively played games I've ever seen.
Penalty marker was thrown as Theismann just sat on the football. Washington Redskins on their way to their first ever victory over the Raider franchise. They had lost the previous 3. A procedure penalty on the Raiders. More football to come following the Redskins and the Raiders. You'll see either Miami and New Orleans or the Giants and the Chargers right here on NBC. And now the clock running out. We'd like to thank our statistician Joe Bann, our spotters Gabe Romano and Vince Scanlon. That's Joe Gibbs congratulating the Raider players. Marv Albert with John BRODIE from Washington. Again, the final. Redskins 37, Raiders 35. 37-35. Now, stay tuned for the second half of today's NFL doubleheader right after these messages from your local station.